Bit of a quieter day in the NHL compared to the last few. Just some small trades ahead of tomorrow night's draft. The Flyers get a 5th and 26 and a 4th and 27 and send Florida forward Garnet Hathaway and a 6th and 2026. While the Penguins, they get forward Hendricks LaPierre by sending Washington a 3rd in 27 and a 5th in 2028. And round one of the NHL draft right here in Buffalo, as mentioned before, is tomorrow, and coverage of the draft on WGR is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and by Dash's Market, serving Western New York's for over 100 years. Shop the family of finer foods. Staying with the drafts, we do have confirmation on when next year's NFL draft is going to be. It will be in Washington, D.C., and will run from April 29th until May 1st. In the World Cup, the United States finishes out the group stage today. They're going to play Turkey at 10 o'clock. The U.S., though, has already won their group, so there could be some lineup changes, including the likes of Christian Pulisic. He's been out with an injury the last game and a half. Again, we'll get much more news on that closer to 10 o'clock. Australia, Paraguay, they'll be at the same time. Before that, though, at 4, we've got Ivory Coast versus Curacao and Ecuador versus Germany. And at 7, Japan takes on Sweden and Tunisia faces off with the Netherlands. Then in baseball, Bison's at Iowa with first pitch at 7:38. That game can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. While in the majors, the Jays host Texas at 7:07, and then at 7:10, Yankees at Boston, and the Mets, they host the Chicago Cubs. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
How many bees is a swarm? Is 2 a swarm or 3, whatever? How many does it have to be? And
I feel like 7.
It's Mike Schopp.
How many times do you have to be stung to have been swarmed? And I was like, dude, I got swarmed. I got stung only once, but I was swarmed.
And the Bulldog.
You insist you were swarmed.
There were bees, man, like plural, big, lots of S's. Lots of E's and S's. Bees. that was not
bees.
Fun. Right. That was not fun.
On WGR.
Hey, man, that kind of hurt.
Sports Radio 550.
Well, I'm not recommending you join me, but I'm kind of in my own head right now. It's not a great place to be. I was here early today. There are negotiations happening, and I even wore, wait for it, a long sleeve shirt to try to be
get a meeting,
as opposed to a T-shirt that doesn't fit. I decided to wear a little. I'm still wearing shorts, but a little bit more
presentable.
Yes. And in the course of these conversations I've had for the better part of the last 2 hours, my boss and I, our boss and I, were talking about sort of like preparation for the show, and just sort of we ended up in a conversation about the process, the quote process. And I showed him what I do every day with you.
Mm-hmm.
All these different notes. I just don't ever want to have to draw a blank, right? So
sure.
I have, we just saw Greg Bauk, and now I'm hearing that music, the match game music in my head, but that's not what this is about. So I have this all written out, and then another associate in management comes by, and he says to her, look at this, look what Mike does, right? So, but they're both noticing that for all the different nonsense I've written out for today, 3 o'clock was blank.
Mm-hmm.
It was blank again. 3
There
o'clock,
it is, right?
I had nothing. And then it just
Mr.
became,
Belvedere. Sorry.
Yes, it just became my turn to talk, and I'm like, Well, I don't really think that that's going to be a problem. I do know what I want to say, though.
Okay.
So we don't have anything new from yesterday. We had Byram to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, Benson.
Benson is
That's
new.
right.
Benson happened last night after our show.
That's right.
I don't think everyone saw it coming, I think. So I don't think there's a lot of surprise. I think, when were you not? Friday. Yeah, you weren't here Friday. And I talked about it in this way. Usually any move the Sabres make, or the Bills, really, the teams we care about, any move that gets made, it's not always a split, but there's yay and nay. And I thought Benson being extended had the potential to be the most positively received contract the Sabres have ever handed out. Like, is there a Sabres fan out there that would go, oh, yeah, but, I mean, maybe I did hear from some of them on Twitter, but
there is, yes.
But I even said, I think that's just people that argue about everything. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily like people that really think it's a terrible idea. It's just like, let me be argumentative. Let me take the other side.
Don't be so sure there isn't a fan that would use maybe his points.
Yeah,
or his size.
Yeah.
I had a guy that I was sort of caught up in a Twitter thing between other people, and I would see. Happens. I know, but yeah, and there was somebody who was like kind of just on an island, yelling about Benson to us, like, you know, basically the guy said you have to be a homer to like him. Now this is from before the playoffs.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and maybe I don't think I've heard from this guy recently.
Right. That's. I think the playoffs changed even people. I would say we talked. I think we talked about him and, you know, the off season coming eventually while the season was still going on, or as the playoffs maybe had just started. And the first, you know, one day you might have just looked at their salary cap page and said, like, what are they going to have to? What's the off season going to be like? Not that I'm in a hurry to get there or anything, but like what? And Benson is an RFA, and I think I said, bridge. I bet you can bridge him. You know, he hasn't really fully formed yet, and so you can probably get away with a couple of years and see what it looks like down the road. And then the playoffs happened, and he became somewhat of a celebrity, I think, during the playoffs. Now, that is not why you pay a guy, but it's a part of it. Like, his style, his impact on the game was much more far-reaching than just the points and assists or the goals and assists. And there were enough of those in the playoffs that I think could satisfy you. But just how much of a center of attention he was on the ice and I think a pain in the neck to play against. I think his whole profile changed. And I don't know, like maybe even fans who are hung up on, and I admit this, I'll always point out, like, how excited you want to get about a guy that had to, you know, it's like 40 points. It's not, you're not looking at a big producer yet. And that was the reasoning behind maybe a bridge. But I think once the playoffs happened, like, oh, okay, I can see it now. I can see him becoming like a 60-point guy on a top line. And, okay, that makes sense. So sign me up. So I don't know. Maybe there still is pushback, but I mean, I'm certainly not going to. I'm certainly not going to get on that train. 7 for 7.5 sounds just fine to me, and has, I think, the potential in a couple of years to look like the Tage Thompson contract looks right now. Which is, I'm not saying Benson's going to score like that. It's just having a player that I think is going to be what Benson should become, it already is becoming, locked in for 7 years at that number it's going to age really well.
I hope so. I think it's not inexpensive, this price for this player. And he's a challenge for me just to try to keep it interesting. I mean, there were times in the playoffs when, you know, my jaw dropped from some of these Benson shifts. There was one against Montreal in a game they lost. It might have been game 2, where he produced a goal or even scored it from behind the net, just sort of checking two guys. And,
like little off the net pass to himself kind of thing, or the boards, whatever it was. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there were some really incredible Benson highlights in the playoffs. I think, you know, I'm not sure how much of a bargain it will ever look like, but, I mean, perfect world, it does. I think probably the Sabres, the best they'll do is to not be picked at for this contract, you know? They eliminate the possibility of an offer sheet. Like, nobody is going to be able to come for him now, and I don't know, maybe that would have happened given what the last point
I think if somebody would have been willing to go to like $10 million a year for him, then you could have had a real hard time.
Otherwise, you're just matching.
Otherwise, I think you're just matching. Yeah. You know, and I don't mean to set the number at 10. Maybe 8 would have been too much for them. I don't know. But you would have had to go if you think the Sabres extended themselves, which they did. I mean,
They did.
It's a prognostication. You're expecting this guy to be this impactful and more moving forward based on the evidence that you've seen so far from how he's played. And to go above and beyond that just would have been, I think, really hard.
Well, I'm not sure exactly the right word is intangibles for Benson, but I just mean that in terms of it not necessarily being in the numbers, his value.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be a challenge for me. I mean, I'm certainly excited about him and their future with him. I'm not negative at all toward this deal. I wonder, though, as it goes along, I mean, if the team isn't winning, then I think he might be somebody we point to that, like, well, you spent this, here's how you did your stuff. And that probably only happens down the road. But you have to hope that, and I'm, again, not going to predict that this won't happen, but you have to hope that Benson is mature enough to handle this moment and what it means for his future. His career is really just getting started. But he kind of became Brad Marchand. I think if you asked fans of other teams what they remember about the Sabres in the playoffs, if they weren't watching regular season games, he might be the first thing they would say.
Yeah.
Like, just what it wouldn't be Thompson or
That's
Tuck.
why I would focus on that, because it happened for me. Like, I literally, again, maybe right as the playoffs were beginning, I don't remember the timeline, would have thought, 2 for 10, let's see what he looks like, in a couple of years, and we'll revisit. But then the playoffs got here, and he became like the guy on their team that I think the league was really sort of opening their, oh, wow, look at this guy. Wow, he's annoying. He's good. Like, hockey fans generally respect that guy. They hate him if he's not on their team, but will always tell you, I'd love to have him on my side. He's that guy, right? You mentioned Marchand. That's quintessential the last 15 years. That's an example of the very top of the heap there. And, Benson's got a lot of work to do to get to producing like that. I mean, Marchand was, a top-level scoring player, top-line player on a cup-winning team. So Benson's got a lot of work to do to reach that, but it's
not impossible, is it?
No, I don't think it is at all, because you mentioned numbers, and while the points have still not been there, everything else says, like, they're maybe at the peak of their powers when he's on the ice. Like, he has a very positive impact on the game. Scoring chances, 5-on-5, all that stuff, I'm pretty sure anyway that he's really good in those areas, which is a reason why, if you're the Sabres and you respect those kind of numbers, you make this bet. You just expect the rest of the stuff is going to come along with the rest of it. And maybe now he settles into, wherever they're going to put him in the lineup, because, we don't really know. The team's not fully formed right now. They're probably going to be some more guys in or out before we get to even training camp and the regular season. But hopefully he lands somewhere. If he's on a line with Thompson, then I feel like the table is set for him to become, a 60-point player in the league. And I know that might not sound, it's not a point a game or anything, but $7.5 million is about what that costs in the league now. Like, this is how it is.
Are you making lines yet? Are you going to put him? You want to wait another week?
I haven't done it. No, to me, there's no point in doing it until we get through, the holiday weekend. Next weekend, I think, is, when I get back in here after the holiday, I think is when it's time to start drawing that up.
You don't want to put that down on paper until Robertson shows up.
Right. That's right.
And then you just have to start over.
Right. Yeah, no need to rush that. So, I did. It was funny. We left here. I had a bit of a ride yesterday. Like, I was feeling really great when we started, and then, like,
I have this effect on people.
90 minutes into the show, I just sort of was like, oh, I don't like how this is. I'm getting all these Vincent Trocheck messages on my phone, and like, I don't really like that idea very much at all. And by the end, I sort of got to Robertson, and pie in the sky. I did mention how, and maybe a lot of Sabres fans were like this, night before last, right? The Byram news happens Tuesday night. So Wednesday morning, I wake up early. First thing I think is, did they make another thing? Did they do something else? So I'm all excited to get up. Today, maybe the rain had something to do with this too. Today, I was like, roll over, go back to sleep. I don't want to look at my phone.
Oh.
I guess I don't want to see this Vincent Trocheck news. I don't want to, and it still hasn't happened, and who knows? Maybe it won't. Maybe it will, and it won't be bad. I don't know, but I'm not excited about that. But still a lot to be determined. Like it very much to me sounds like I watched a lot of Pierre LeBrun on TSN Sports Center this morning. And
After you got up.
After I got up and looked and saw that there wasn't the thing I was dreading, like, okay, let's just dig in what's going on. And, the way the big guys are talking is like Kekalainen's talking to everybody about the fourth pick. So.
Well, he sounded yesterday, this is not necessarily a story. It wasn't a point I made yesterday. But when he was talking about the pick, we had a sound bite of his that we played back. And he didn't, to say the least, he didn't slam the door on trading the pick. He's like, for now, it's ours.
Yeah.
So he has been a pretty straight shooter, Kekalainen. And at every turn, Benson, he called it. Tuck, he called it. And even Byram, like that was kind of everybody found out that Byram was probably going to have to go, and then he left. So I don't think we're getting really any surprises or, depending on how you feel, disappointments from him. I said yesterday, I'm kind of falling for this guy. Like I feel like I want to trust him just at press conferences, and that's risky, and that is not. I gotta be careful. But I think with this pick, how he described the situation yesterday he could have just said, no, we wanted this pick. Like this is the draft is here. We're going to celebrate it and use it. And he just didn't say that. And you don't have to say it, but some people would. Maybe somebody else in the top 5 is not even open to a question about a trade. But again, most of the time in sports, the GM is. They say that they are.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if they won't just go right up to, like, if they prefer to move it, and assuming that there is, there could be 3, 4, 5 more. I don't know. There could be a lot of people that could be interested in that pick. A lot of different scenarios: defensemen, forwards, centers, wingers, goalies, even. Like I don't know. I'm sort of with Paul on. He said late in our show yesterday, like, I don't want to trade the 4th pick in the draft for a goalie, and I'm with you there. With Paul on that. I mean, but maybe they go right up to the end. Maybe it's even the Sabres are on the clock, and when I don't know if this is how it'll still work with the draft being the way it is, but when the pick is to be announced, if it's the commissioner or whomever it is, Bill Daley, it's we have a trade, and that's where they announce like whatever they did with the 4th pick, who's got it now, and here's what the Sabres just traded the 4th pick for.
This is when the commissioner comes out, and he likes to read the trades.
Yes, right.
He reads the trades in the first round. He might do everything in the first round, like in the NFL. But, yeah, like that I can remember seeing Gary Bettman do is, we have a trade, and he sort of drags it out, and, a good chance for him to not get booed, basically, just to –
yeah.
When you're reading a trade, you're not –
Probably not.
You're not really getting
well,
booed.
Provided your fans like the trade. I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, I saw Brian Mazurowski tweeting about this earlier today from our sister station WBEN, big Sabres fan. He's
a Penguins fan.
He said
he doesn't want that out.
Also, I think we want to say, he said, imagine that trade. Nyes for the 4th pick being announced at the draft with a bunch. I would imagine a lot of Toronto fans are going to come to the draft. The Leafs have the 1st overall pick.
Yep.
So, and Sabres fans live here. I would think there's going to be a hearty contingent of Sabres fans in there. You get that trade. Like I wonder how that our Leaf fans. Oh, we've got the 4th pick. That's awesome. But we also just traded away this guy. We really like this guy. He's young and awesome. And same way with Sabres fans. I mean, that's what makes sports so great. I'm getting a lot of people that they don't really know what I think Matthew Nyes is, or they do and they just don't care. They'd rather have the cheap, young 4th overall pick, which is fine. I mean, if that's where you want to stand. So I wonder even how that would go if that were the trade and it gets announced at 7:25 or 7:45 on Friday night. What is the reaction in the building? Because you've got the two fan bases that I think would be the majority of the crowd there on site, which could be a pretty wild dynamic.
And it really, I think, would be tough to call.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. I'm not sure it wouldn't be pretty evenly split, both fan bases, by that move. I know Chad doesn't like that idea.
He doesn't think the four. Yeah, four.
He doesn't think Nyes is worth four.
Four is too much for. Yeah, he's and a lot. Look, it might be right if you want to treat that pick like you should, which for the value that it is, it's got to be what, a number one center or a top pair D. Bo and Byram, I guess, as an example, although, we'll see if he actually can become that. He's not been that yet in his career.
And he was the 4th overall pick.
Yeah. So,
in his year.
But I'm, if anything, I might be guilty of just sort of treating the pick like found money. But like my process is this. I think I said when it first became known that it was going to be unlikely that the Sabres were going to be able to keep Byram, they're like, I don't want to trade this guy, but I would trade him for Matthew Nyes. And so if I use the 4th pick to get Matthew Nyes, I effectively have done that. I mean, I know I'm probably not properly valuing the 4th pick, but it still is an outcome that I would be more than happy with. I got some other stuff too. I got rid of Greenway. I got this defenseman who might be a 3rd pair guy. I feel like I'm in pretty great shape, and I replaced Alex Tuck with Bo and Byram.
I am on team use the pick or trade around if you need to, even trade down. Yesterday you were laying out maybe 2, 3, 4 could be teams where moving down a couple spots, which I'm always here for that, could be advantageous. Otherwise, I'm on team use the pick, and I'm considering it a sign today that in the slate.com crossword, there was an entry. See if you can get it.
Okay.
5 letters. Spacey Icelandic songstress.
Oh, that's easy. Bjork.
Right.
Yeah.
Viggo Bjork, baby. Let's go. 4th overall. No? Is that should I not be so mystical about this and just sort of be pragmatic?
No, I mean, it's fine. You want to use the pick. I mean,
you could do worse, right?
Well, sure. You could. I mean, San Jose is thought to need a defenseman. There's been a lot of talk that maybe they'll just stay at 2 and take the defenseman. But they could, I said this yesterday, they could probably get paid to move down and still get potentially, at worst, the 2nd best defenseman in the draft, maybe even the 1st defenseman in the draft.
Right.
Go up to 2 and get Stenberg. Like, he's on your team next year.
You don't sound like you believe in using crossword puzzles as your guide when it comes to drafting hockey players.
Well,
so that's okay.
I'm supporting the idea of using the pick, but I'm using it. I'm paying to use it. I'm gonna give San Jose something
what is
to
that
go
be?
Draft Stenberg. I don't know. 2 spots. I don't know what that costs.
4 to 2. Do I get out Jimmy Johnson charts for
right,
this?
I don't know if we have
Is it the same?
Right.
It wouldn't be cheap to move from 4 to 2.
I don't think so. No.
Next year's 1. Pick 20. Does 4 and 20 get you 2?
Maybe.
803-0550. Let's talk about this.
There's an idea. I mean,
draft is tomorrow night. Sabres picking 4th for now. We've been through all of it. Benson signs. That's new. Tuck is gone. Press conference tomorrow in Washington. Virtual press conference tomorrow with Washington. We've got the goalie stuff we've talked about a lot, and Byram and more. How would you do it? How would you want to do it? Later, Steven Ellis from Daily Faceoff on the draft and all of this. Paul Hamilton will join us too. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, thanks for listening, and lines are open for your calls next here on WGR.
For more comfort.
Now's the perfect time to make yourself comfortable with a new electric heating and cooling system from Belknap.
In Western New York, summer and winter bring extreme temperature conditions. Make yourself comfortable with Mitsubishi electric heat pumps, designed to keep your home cool in the summer and warm in the winter, no matter how hot or cold it gets outside. Call Belknap today to learn more.
I'm Gary Garflow, president of Belknap. We work on your schedule. We don't charge more for weekends and evenings. That's why we say,
Give Belknap a ring.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to
I think if you're going to extend yourself this summer, you want a slam dunk player, especially a slam dunk player who you're not going to pay for past performance. And that's why Robertson is so alluring to me. He's young. He fits well within this broader core, a freakish goal scorer from the wing, which is what the Sabres sorely need. I would put the Sabres on the short list of most logical landing spots for him as a player. And then from the Sabres perspective, I mean, I think he's at the top of the list of, like, until you say no and you sign and trade with someone else or you move him elsewhere, I'm not going to let you go without making our best and final.
Travis Yost this morning on WGR. Little inside story that at about 10:30 this morning, I texted Chris and Zach that I got Travis Yost for 6 o'clock today, I guess it was. And then Zach responded, I just got off the phone with him on our show.
Right.
So I told Travis, like, I didn't realize that. Sorry for this. How about next week? So Travis was like, sure, that'll be fine next week. But a leading voice.
Yep.
If you want to know things.
And
if you like knowing things.
I love this Robertson idea. It sort of got me through the back end of yesterday's show once I sort of stumbled onto it and go, oh, yeah, they could do that. And I'm glad to hear Travis thinks it's a super cool idea too. It's a lot. It'd be a lot. I mean, it's going to be a lot if you could pull it off. There's going to have to be money going back to make it happen. So I don't know, Quinn, McLeod, I don't know.
He would be one of the best players the Sabres will ever have traded for.
Yeah, definitely. The fourth pick is now that's a scoring winger, so I don't know if that qualifies. If the same, but he's much more. He's a more dependable scorer year over year than Matthew Knies is. I actually like Knies' all-around game a little bit more, but he's not the player Robertson is. He cost you half as much as far as money goes. The contract is, 8.5, I think, is where Knies is. Or maybe less. And Robertson is thought to be, I think, if a team acquires him, they're going to be acquiring him, agreeing to pay him probably $14 million a year. Like, that's what you're talking about.
It's more than $1 million a month.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's big.
Don't ever do that. Just becomes more depressing.
Yeah, I try not to.
Try not to break it down by months and weeks and days. How much money a day is that? I mean, good business to be in. Who doesn't love a spacey Icelandic songstress, by the way, Bjork? It's spelled a little differently. There's an extra letter in the hockey player Bjork.
Right.
But, right? Who doesn't love a spacey Icelandic songstress? Just even sight unseen.
Big fan.
You're a Bjork guy.
I saw her with the first band that was known to me, known to North America that she was in was a band called the Sugar Cubes.
Okay.
And I saw them. I had their first record on CD. I never got the vinyl, so I don't listen to it. But I mean, I could easily find it digitally. And saw them play live once.
Where?
At like the Darien Lake of Middle Connecticut, like a lake.
Darien, Connecticut.
Lake Compounce, I think, was the name of the place.
All right.
And, amusement park. They played, I think I have this right, they were the opening band on a tour that featured the Ramones and Blondie. And we went to that, and so they're in Connecticut, and the singer, there was a male singer in this band too, a male vocalist, and he kept yelling in between songs, "Hello, Milwaukee!" And it was hilarious.
As a joke?
As a joke, yeah, no, just like.
Did he do that everywhere?
I don't know. I only saw them.
That's a great bit.
I only saw them in Connecticut, and he just after every song he said, "Thank you, Milwaukee," and I thought, I love you guys.
That's a great bit. 803-0550. I want to say a little bit more about the Sabres. Good thing, right? We got 3.5 hours left. Situation. When it was just the beginning of the offseason, we had the playoffs end, decompress, then, all right, now what? There's a press conference, and I was much less enthused about keeping Tuck than, say, you were, or maybe most fans. I mean, we had a few really interesting callers around that time. Basically was, what's not to like here about this guy? He's probably not done, even though he had a bad series, and we had E.J. Raddick or somebody else come on and talk about how big he is and how the value of that. So I don't know. It felt a little bit like I was copping out, but my ultimate thought on it was, if I've got a GM that's really good at this, I think I can find another version of Tuck that will not scare me as he goes into his 30s, on the age curve. I think I can maybe trust this guy to find me someone else who you can put with good line-mate options and get value out of. That's what I wanted to see happen. That's easy to say. Like, I don't have a name for that. I just felt like
I do.
You did.
Nice.
Well, okay.
Nice is the perfect guy for that.
That's good, right? He's younger,
Yep.
and he would cost maybe about the same or less now that Tuck is signed.
Yep.
Very, very well. So that's what I was kind of thinking would be optimal. Let him go, cash in. I don't have to worry about another, guy getting into his 30s.
Yeah, you don't have another
somebody.
Poso situation on your hands, right?
I would like to not have that risk. So I kind of want to be in the same boat right now about this all. I mean, Tuck did leave. That kind of sets it up for Kekalainen to replace him in kind. Then you have Byram too. I kind of just want to trust it. Signing Jason Robertson or even trading for Connor Hellebuck are big-time ideas. I mean, franchise-changing moves they would be. And I'm not, going to hate it. I think. It depends. Tell me what it costs, but I doubt I would hate it. I think I would be completely supercharged for the season all summer if they were to do either of those things. But I still have to say I think the optimal course of action would be not to do that, especially if Robertson is going to be a top 5 paid player in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 26 only. Still, I think maybe this is going to end up at me basically saying, bring on Helenius, Osland, and Kulik, And I'm not afraid to say that because these guys, we've basically had this conversation every day. These are not complete unknowns. These are players that have, to different extents, demonstrated that they can play at this level, even in the postseason. I know it's so few games, but I still feel like we know something about them. And so I wouldn't want it to stop here. I'm not expecting that it will. I don't get that vibe from the Sabres. I think, kind of everybody is saying there'll be one more. Maybe there can't be two, but there'll be something. And I'm on team. Let's trust that. Let's use 104 tomorrow night and see if they can't pull in a good player that you've heard of that isn't 30 and go from there.
Yep. I really do think, I was talking with my son about this before I came in today, Leo, which is weird because he doesn't really follow hockey. We had a really good conversation about all these ideas. No, it was Owen. And I said, am I nuts? I think I would rather have Nyes than Robertson. I think Nyes he is not the goal scorer that Robertson is, but I think he's a better all-around player than Robertson is. Robertson is not someone who you're going to be using to kill penalties. Nyes killed penalties last year and the year before, I think, with Austin Matthews. He's been a penalty killer. So you've got that piece if you're looking for that piece to replace Tuck. He's never scored 30 goals. 29 was his career high 2 years ago. But it replaces the size, and he's, the contract is way more palatable, and he's 23 years old. And if I can do that without having to divest myself of the 4th pick, right? If everyone in the league, or anyone that's listening to me that thinks I'm crazy that I would trade the 4th pick for Nyes, if you're all correct, and the Leafs know that, they probably want NHL-ish players anyways. They probably would want one of these kids if you take the 4th pick out of it, right? For me, the 4th pick is a way to avoid having to put one of these kids in the deal because they're not that far removed from what the 4th pick could be for a team. But if you want to put that on the shelf and say that's too valuable if you're talking about a second-line winger to replace Alex Tuck, which is ostensibly what we're talking about. If you can do that with 20 and Quinn or 20 and one of the kids and McLeod or somebody, like, because the Leafs are looking for NHL players. Look at their depth chart right now. It's like there are some names there that you just are going to go, I don't even know who many of these people are. They still have Tavares and Nylander and Nyes for now and Matthews. But, man, after that, it gets pretty thin.
And they have Radish.
That's right, they did that.
An interesting window, perhaps, into what they're thinking, Toronto.
Yeah, maybe.
Pierre LeBrun, most teams don't think that Buffalo will draft at 4. Better worded, most teams think that Buffalo will not draft at 4.
I think that's because they're probably talking to 4, 6, 10 teams about something to do with. I'll bet they've called Detroit. Hey, can you get? We'll include 4. Can you get Larkin to come here? I'd be stunned if they're not doing that.
Well, what was 20? But the move to 20 also, by the way.
Yeah, right.
27 to 20 for Kesselring. We'll see. Don't turn that dial. Not that anybody has a dial anymore. Whatever it is that you have, don't turn it.
Don't press.
Don't press. Don't do anything.
Don't hit
Don't
pause.
even move. Don't move. Don't. Keep your eyes on the road. Here's Larry with us. Hi, Larry.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. So,
Hi.
a couple ideas. I'm kind of with you, Mike. I would really like to see what they do with that pick, but my concern is having Tuck gone. I would love to see us trade with Toronto and get Matthew Nyes. And for me, it's a no-brainer for Toronto because you're going to get number 1 pick. You're going to get McKenna. And then with the 4th pick, you can either get the 1st or the 2nd-rated defenseman at a much cheaper cost because you're not going to pay him $7.5 million like you're paying Nyes, and you can really start rebuilding. So I'd love your thoughts on that. But the other one, I was looking at, would you think Winnipeg would take UPL and the 20th pick for Hellebuck? And if not, what do you think it would take? I don't want to give the 4th pick for a goalie. No way, no way, no way. I don't care how good he is. But what do you think it would take to get Hellebuck? I'm thinking the 20th and UPL. I'd love your thoughts.
Good question. Well, it's one that we've discussed.
That's way light, I think.
I think it's probably light, but there have been a couple trades already this week where for a veteran, teams want to get out from certain players and certain money responsibilities. So I'm not sure it would have to be incredible to get him either. But I think they'd want another player. I think 20, Luukkonen, and a good young player might do it.
One of the kids and another roster player, I think, is probably where I'd land. Like a McLeod and a Quinn and one of Halanus or Osland with 20. I think you don't want to include 4, but if you were willing to include 4, I think that takes one of the kids off the table for you, right? And that's the trade-off. Like you're like, I don't want to do that for a goalie. Well, okay, then you're going to have to give up this guy. I don't want to give up this guy. Okay, we're back to 4. Like I would rather give up 4 than one of those kids myself right now. I would say that. Because I am optimistic about it. I think there's reasons to be optimistic about all of them, even if it's not next year immediately. And I don't know what, 4, you just never know. Bird in the hand, I think you've already developed these guys. You're bullish on them becoming important players for you. Sure, there's a long list of great players who were picked at 4. There's, I'm sure, a list of guys who completely went bust that were picked at 4. Like, it happens. It's a draft. So, the value
Even
of it.
Bjork?
What's that?
Even Bjork?
Even Bjork. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate you jumping in with us here. Steven Ellis, Daily Faceoff, coming up in 20 minutes. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Davis Maddock in a fantasy draft that we're partnering on just asked me if I'm a Pat Bryant guy. I don't know. Am I? Am I a Pat Bryant guy? Can you tell me if I'm a Pat Bryant guy? I don't. Is he a Pat Bryant? I don't know if I'm a Pat Bryant guy. Who's Pat Bryant?
That's what I'm waiting to ask in order to really definitively decide whether you are or are not a Pat Bryant guy. I need to know exactly who Pat Bryant is. He's a receiver.
He's a receiver on Denver.
Okay.
That was drafted last year and really didn't do a lot.
I wouldn't want to be a Pat Bryant guy with Cortland Sutton and Jalen Waddle there now.
Fair. Did you see the boat picture?
I did. I saw a boat picture wherever I saw it. I've seen it more than once. I probably have seen the same tweet more than once retweeted. On it. Like this is the Giants thing with Beckham way back whenever that was.
ADP Chasing loves a boat picture.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know who everybody was. As four of us together could not identify everybody on the boat. We think that Sutton and Waddle were not on the boat, which is bearish for them, or is it bullish for them? They didn't take the cheap route of just, all right, I'll go on your boat. They're not there. Maybe they had, their kids had dance practice or something.
What kind of camaraderie is that? What kind of teammates are these guys? They're out for themselves. They're not out with their boys on a boat.
Evan Ingram was on the boat.
That boat?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Evan Ingram. Sorry. For some reason, my head went to a completely different person, not a football player. Don't ask.
Okay.
You were just talking to me about fantasy off the air, and Evan. I was just thinking of somebody else when you said
Evan Silva.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I know that sounds nothing like. It's not even the same number of letters. You can't even give me that. Usually you be, 6 letters. It's not that.
Did you read Barnwell today?
I buzzed it.
By position,
skill position. I saw the Bills rankings? In the 30th?
29th,
yeah. So I didn't go deep, but I was curious to see where they would rank.
So it was every team ranked by skill position players, talent, 32-1. One is Detroit. Running backs included. Barnwell pointed out, wide receivers carry a lot more weight in this because teams have demonstrated that they're willing to pay receivers much more than they are running backs. He wrote that there's only one running back in the league over $20 million this year, Barkley. There are 25 receivers over that number, and a couple in the 40s. Chase, maybe Smith and Jigba. 29th on the list is not pretty. It does not slight James Cook. I read the piece. It does not slight James Cook. Explosive, great. He did not stop short on Cook, but still, his opinion, and raise your hand if it's also yours, the Bills have just flopped so badly at getting good receivers in here. And he used the right word, somehow.
They're still a contender every year.
Palmer, Shakir's fine. Now DJ Moore, speaking of fantasy, DJ Moore goes wide receiver 26. He's Josh Allen's probable number one guy, wide receiver 26. I mean, it's not that hard, 25 wide receivers that would be more popular fantasy bets than Josh Allen's new number one that they gave up a lot for and are paying a lot of money to as well. So Miami was 32. If Tutu Atwell is going to start there at receiver, even with Achane, they might have to be 32.
Right. Yeah, they're maybe similar to the Bills in that way. I mean, the running back is, provably really, really good and impactful, but the rest is.
Yeah, at least the Bills have names
Yeah.
And that makes their ranking even more interesting, that DJ Moore was not enough to get them out of, the bottom 4 in the NFL. One person's opinion. But I went looking for the Bills on that thing.
That's
team by team.
Yeah.
And it did not take long to get to the Bills at 29. Well, we'll see. Camp's still a ways off. We'll talk more Sabres on the draft tomorrow night. Steven Ellis from Daily Faceoff next. Stay tuned.
Bit of a quiet day today in the NHL compared to the last couple of days as we get ready for the draft tomorrow, but we do still have some small trades to report. Flyers get a 5th and 26th and a 4th in 2027, and to do that they send Florida Garnet Hathaway and a 6th in 2026, while the Penguins get forward Hendrix Lapierre by sending Washington a 3rd in 27 and a 5th in 28. And as mentioned, the draft is tomorrow right here in Buffalo. It'll be round 1 tomorrow night, and coverage of the draft on WGR is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's Your Outlet? By Figo Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and by Dash's Market, serving Western New York for over 100 years. Shop the family of finer foods. And staying with drafts, we do now know the dates for next year's NFL draft. It's going to be held in Washington, D.C., and it will be April 29th through May 1st. To the World Cup, U.S. will finish out their group stage today. They play Turkey. The U.S., though, already have won the group, and for all intents and purposes, it's not official, but most signs are pointing to them playing Bosnia in their round of 32 game, so there may be some lineup changes tonight. We also may see the likes of Christian Pulisic for the first time since game number 1, but we'll likely get a closer look at this around game time at 10. Also at 10 is Australia and Paraguay, but to start today, in just the next few minutes, actually all of them kicking off now, Ivory Coast versus Curacao and Ecuador versus Germany. Then at 7 o'clock, we've got Japan taking on Sweden and Tunisia facing off against the Netherlands. While in baseball, Bisons are at Iowa. First pitch at 7:38, and that one can be heard over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't think Michael's ever done drugs.
It's Mike Schopp.
I don't know if anyone's ever offered him any.
Let's go over some of the symptoms of marijuana use, shall we? You tell me who this sounds like.
It's the Bulldog.
Slow moving, inattentive, dull, constantly snacking, shows a lack of motivation.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
How about that a Garnet was traded today in hockey? Garnet Hathaway.
Yep.
Third Garnet, well, at least in NHL history. My daughter's name is Garnet. And there was a Garnet Exelby.
I remember him.
And then Ace Bailey. There have been 2 Ace Baileys.
Garnet Ace Bailey, yeah.
Garnet Bailey, Ace Bailey, who died in the towers. He was on the plane on 9/11. He was a scout, I believe, going from Boston to L.A. That flight was Boston to L.A. Garnet Bailey. I don't know if anybody called him Garnet, but I like that I have hockey cards of his with.
All right.
I think his name appears somewhere. So Garnet Hathaway, Flyers to Panthers. Is that what it was?
Correct. Yeah,
did he demand a trade to the Panthers?
Because the Panthers, yeah, he was on the Olympic team too. You didn't see him; he didn't play a lot. I'm kidding. Like they needed to get tougher. Florida, they needed some beef. So
that's the one thing we all know about.
Garnet Hathaway is the guy that a lot of Sabres fans will tell you ruined Dylan Cousins.
Okay, that's the guy.
That was the fight that Cousins seemed like he was never the same after.
Well, maybe I'm not so happy with this guy anymore, despite his name. With us now on the Wester Hotline is Steven Ellis. Daily Faceoff, the draft this weekend here in Buffalo. Hi, Steven. Thanks for taking the time today. How are you?
I'm great. I'm in the city now. It's been kind of a hectic day with some media interviews, not so great weather, but it's already a good start, I'd say.
I don't have to ask you my first question then, which is, are you coming?
Are you here yet? Yeah, right.
You've answered that already, so we're off to a good start.
And it's clearing up, so we'll be okay here, I think.
Yeah, it should be a nice weekend. Yeah.
I see the sun. That's a good sign.
Right. That's good. We'll take it. So here are the Sabres. We've been joking for the last few days, since the Byram trade, I guess. It's only a couple of days ago, but how our Paul Hamilton was at the Combine, and we're all sort of like, well, it's different. We're not in the top 10 like usual anymore, or top 1. It's happened a couple times. It may be different to cover the prospects. And then we went back to Paul yesterday, and he said, well, I did talk to, it sounded like the top 6 names. He did spend, he just didn't have the Sabres in mind when doing so. What do you think about the top half dozen players here in this draft, especially now that the Sabres, at least for the moment, are in a position to pick one of them?
Yeah, obviously, it's going to be pretty popular, assuming they keep that pick, which, given the drafts in Buffalo, I'm going to keep that pick, but we'll see kind of what happens there. But this is a strong top 10. I think a lot has been made about whether or not draft in as a whole. I'd say kind of the top 10 is good. After that, it starts to fall off a little bit. So getting in and picking number 4, whether it be, the top defenseman of the draft and Chase Reed, whether it be one of the other high-end defensemen like Carson Karls or Berhoff, Albert Smith, or maybe you go for the best center if you go Bjork, outside of Caleb Mahalter, who we kind of expect will go number 3. I think they've got some good options here. So, this is quite an exciting time. Yeah, it's going to be probably Buffalo's top prospect immediately, I'd say, kind of depending on who they get. But it's a good spot to be in.
Yeah. How do you view the top 2? It seems like, the betting markets are telling you it's going to be McKenna. But, it feels like for the first time maybe in a while there was a little more uncertainty. Stenberg is an attractive prospect. How do you differentiate those 2 top guys? Not that the Sabres are going to have a look at either of them, unless they, swing a trade with San Jose. Who knows? But the top 2, Steven.
I think when you look at McKenna, you see that high-end skill. He's just so good at the puck. He's such a high-end thinker, and the comparables that have been thrown around are the Nikita Kucherovs and the Patrick Kanes. And I'm not saying he's a one-to-one to those guys, but the way he crosses his plays at speed, the way he moves around the ice, the way he takes advantage of open space and creates high-quality plays consistently as a playmaker, I think we're talking about a guy who's going to put up a ton of points and makes the most sense number 1 in Toronto. And he also did say today he's looking forward to being a villain in Buffalo. So there's that. And then when you look at number 2 with Ivar Stenberg, I think San Jose, it always felt like that was a good fit for him. But at the same time, it's close between him and Chase Reed, and Chase Reed made the most sense until they went and got that 9th overall pick. And then all of a sudden now it looks like number 2, Stenberg makes a ton of sense. He can replace Eklund, be a very key player there. He's a good play driver, good two-way guy. He's more of a well-rounded player compared to someone like McKenna, but I think, might not have the same hockey sense or pure raw skill, but we're still talking about a guy who's a top prospect and I think is going to put up a ton of points in the NHL, and I think there's a lot worse opportunities for a winger than playing if a guy like Macklin Celebrini.
Having said all that, let me ask you anyway, Steven, what do you think San Jose's appetite might be to trade out of 2? Is it such that moving down a spot or 2 could appeal to them? Of course, Buffalo at 4 is a reason why I'm asking this. Do you think, given what you said about their trade and everything, they'd be close to that?
It's been interesting because, Mike Greer from the start has said they're going to be listening to trade offers. And that implies, they might be willing to move on from that 2nd overall pick. That being said, we don't really typically see teams move up like 1 or 2 spots this high in the draft. So I don't really see it happening. Would it maybe make a lot of sense for Buffalo? Sure. I guess it also depends on what else you'd be throwing out there. Would San Jose be happy with that 4th pick? I'd say they'd be pretty happy too. They still get Chase Reed, but I think when they went out and got that 9th overall pick, I think that really opened up the opportunity for them to still get a defenseman. So I just don't know if there's really a need for them to move down at this point.
Yeah, that other pick is a big factor in that too, probably.
Right.
So.
So how ready are Stenberg and McKenna guys you think will play in the league next year, and are they the only ones in this class? Again, I'm asking from the 4th pick's perspective, which the Sabres currently hold, because they've got some holes to fill now, but I kind of doubt that even picking 4th, they're going to get someone who can play in the NHL next year.
Well, what kind of makes a player NHL ready, I think, has kind of changed a little bit now with the NCAA rulings allowing CHL players. Because for some guys, they would have no reason to go back to the CHL, and the only other option was to go to the NHL. Like, imagine if Zane Parekh had the opportunity to go to college instead of kind of watching the Calgary Flames all year long. I think that would have been huge for his development. So, Chase Reed, he's got a commitment to Michigan State. I'd say there's an argument that he could go out there and challenge for an NHL role, but I think they're going to be patient with him. So then you're looking at Gavin McKenna. I think he's got nothing left to prove in college. Ivar Stenberg, I think, has the skill to play top 6 pretty quickly, assuming he goes to San Jose. Like, watching him play at the World Championship alongside Vigo Bjork and Lucas Raymond, and you see a lot of Lucas Raymond in the way Stenberg plays, and I'd say a lot of that time he was better than Raymond. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and all of a sudden be, a star player right away, but I think he's got the hockey sense, and I think he's got the two-way game that he plays so mature already that I think he actually would be able to make the NHL right away. Beyond that, a lot of people have questioned about Albert Smith. I think I'd rather see him a full year in the AHL instead, trying to get a ton of minutes and not rush him, because he played at the World Championship, played at the World Juniors, he played at the Olympics, he played in Finland, he played Finnish U20 hockey, he played in Germany. Like, that's a lot of movement. I would like for him to have a bit of consistency, play one level, and just kind of go from there. I think the AHL would be a good spot for him. You can call him up for maybe a couple of games if you need, but I feel very confident about 2. But if we learned anything from last year's draft, there's going to be at least one guy that nobody expects to make the NHL right away, and they're going to do it. Like last year was Ben Kindle. So, I think we're going to see probably maybe 4 or 5 guys start the year in the NHL, but realistically, I think 2 are going to stick around.
We had Zack Benson do that 3 seasons ago.
Right.
Picked later on. I mean, what, 10th?
13.
Even later than 10th?
Yeah.
With Steven Ellis.
I had him at number 6 that year, by the way. I think
yes.
That was a steal of a pick. 100% of a steal.
Let's remember that for a minute here, because, and from talking to Kevin Adams about it in the past, that's the old days when teams went to the draft, and there is the Sabres table, and we may have talked with you and certainly other people just sort of leading up to that pick, and when they were on the clock, they showed the table. There's the owner, there's Adams, the scouts, 10 or 12 or more people, and nobody was even talking. Like, they all just sat there and enjoyed their 10 minutes of fame or whatever.
We're going to enjoy what just dropped Benson in our lap.
And I asked Adams once, like, you knew Benson the whole time, right? You might have even been hoping picks ahead of that. And he's like, absolutely. We didn't have to have a conversation in that moment because it was obvious what they wanted to do. That's looking pretty good right now, as on the occasion here as we speak, Stephen, as he's just signed for almost $50 million last night.
Yeah, and you watch what he did in the playoffs and how much fun it was. And like, I come from the Toronto area, but everyone there was still talking about what Zack Benson was doing and how exciting he was. And we knew he could play this aggressive, in-your-face style, but we didn't see it at the level that we saw now back when he was playing in the WHL. And to see what he's been able to do, it's been so much fun. He's kind of the smaller player archetype that everyone's looking to emulate. You look at a guy like Vigo Bjork in this year's draft. He could be one of the guys the Sabres end up taking at number 4. He's a very exciting Swedish guy, 5'9", but he's out there knocking dudes down like it's nothing. Like, watching him play at the World Championship, and he was out there battling Ryan O'Reilly and Evan Bouchard and Darnell Nurse and physically overpowering them was very impressive. And then you see a guy like Zack Benson doing it at the same time at the NHL playoffs. Like, this is a guy that it's going to be so much fun to watch. He had the jersey number switch, and it was fun watching the playoffs, see the 2 different jersey numbers in the crowd for Benson over his career. But that's a guy that's easy to like, and I kind of want all smaller players to try and emulate his game.
Steven Ellis from Daily Faceoff on the West Tour Hotline. He's in town preparing to cover the NHL draft, which kicks off tomorrow night at KeyBank Center. How about this pool of, you've mentioned a few of the defensemen, the German guy Smits just now. You've mentioned Reed. I've been sort of interested in Verhoff out of North Dakota. Talk about those guys and how similar they are and different. I assume if you're a defenseman in these days, in this current age, being projected to go in the top 10, you're a good to great skater and puck mover, because that is what is mostly required. But just talk about that group of guys if you want, and go deeper than those 3 if you want.
Well, so Chase Reed, he's the guy that's the best skater. I'd say he's the best overall defenseman, the guy that checks the most boxes as a potential number 1 defenseman. He's smart, good two-way game. He plays physical, and you can look at his numbers this year in the OHL and say, like, that's nothing really to get excited about. But the reality was, this was a guy that had to do so much of the heavy lifting with the Sioux Greyhounds that if you watched him at the World Juniors when Cole Hudson got hurt, he took over and looked really good there. So I do like Chase Reed. Carson Carls, he's this workhorse, this guy that comes from a farm family, and you see it in his work ethic. He's out there out-muscling guys that are bigger than him. He has a lot of muscle himself, but he seems fearless, a good puck mover, a lot of fun to watch, and a guy that I think is closer to being the best defenseman in the draft than the third best defenseman. I think in terms of that third best defenseman, whether it be Verhoff, who I think's got the highest ceiling, but maybe the most flaws in his game right now in terms of his skating and his hockey sense. I think those are two things that are very manageable. I think he's going to be a very good defenseman. He was a 17-year-old playing college this year. That's very difficult for anybody that age to be able to do it, especially as a defenseman, but he looked really good. You look at Jackson Rudolph, might be the most offensive minded. He's a ton of fun, maybe a bit. He could struggle a bit in his own zone, being a little bit too passive, but I think with the puck, you're not going to find a better defenseman this year's draft. And then there's Albert Smith, who he's most, physically mature at this point. You watch him, he kind of reminds you of Moritz Seider in the way that he defends, the way he joins in on the rush. He's got a big 6'3" frame. He's extremely confident in himself, and I love that. So it's a really good defensive group. You got Ryan, who's small but speedy, skilled. You got Molson Gustafson, who's huge and defends well, maybe not the greatest offensive threat. I think it's a really good year to need a defenseman.
Steven, the big question here is whether the Sabres will even keep this pick. There are reports today, some of the insider guys are predicting or reporting that Pierre LeBrun, for one, that most teams apparently that he's talking to think the Sabres will trade this pick. And it does make some logical sense with the kind of year that they had, and now they've lost Byram and Tuck. If they could turn this into a star, then, maybe they'll be so inclined. Do you have a thought on that? And thinking about these defensemen that Bulldog just asked about, I wonder if you think it would be the wrong move, given the makeup of the team, even with Byram having left, to pick a defenseman there, because it might be that that's the right choice by value.
Yeah, I think when you look at this year, like obviously when you're making a pick at home, there is a marketing value in picking high. There is value. Like in Montreal when they drafted first overall in 2022, and that was a big deal in the city. And obviously this isn't the first overall pick, but if you pick at 4, like there's definitely a marketing value. Hey, you've got a star player. You potentially, if you get Chase Reed, a number one defenseman, a guy that could be a real play driver on the point that you're really looking for, like that would be hard to kind of sell. You got to get a really good value there, which I also would partly argue that pick might be one of the most valuable picks in the draft because of, the attachment of where the draft is held. Mm-hmm. That could be something that, Buffalo uses as premium leverage. Like, hey, if you want this pick, if you want it bad, this is what it means to us. You're going to have to make a move there. Then you talk about it for a different position, like maybe take a guy like Viggo Bjork. I think that's like the only guy you would probably take if you're not getting a defenseman, assuming Caleb Malholtra's off the board at that point. If Caleb Malholtra's there, that gets interesting because he's got potential number one center abilities there, and at worst, he could be a number 2, a very good number 2. But if it came down to me, if it was Chase Reed or Viggo Bjork, I'd be taking Chase Reed because you're getting the best value guy, you're getting the best defenseman, and you're getting a guy, right-handed defenseman that move as well as he does. That's hard to find, and that's a guy you definitely want.
Is Malhotra to Vancouver in ink for you, with his dad now being their coach, or no?
See, for me, I wouldn't personally do it, but then everybody I talk to, scouts and teams, everything, they keep telling me, like, they see it being Malhotra. So we'll see. I think there's a equal of an argument that they could use a guy like Chase Reed. But when it comes to Malhotra, he's a smart center, a strong center, great two-way guy. If you're in the beginning of the rebuild like they are when they need everything, that's a good guy you could build around. I think maybe they just overlook the fact that it is, the coach's son, and just say, hey, we're taking the best player available, because it is like you can want. Some people might call it a nepotism pick if that's what happens. I don't see it that way. I see them picking the best center of the draft, and that would be something you could easily defend if you're the Vancouver Canucks.
What's tricky there is I'm not sure I would even think of it as a positive. I mean, what kind of a commitment, what kind of an added commitment am I making to my new coach on a terrible team?
If I'm picking his
kid. I just picked his son, like, do I have to wait out extra bad years, in theory, because this was the idea that they would be together, and then maybe you lose the kid if the coach is gone by the time he sort of matures to
not
play
to
in the
mention
league?
the pressure that's on the kid,
right,
then, and the dad too, to have it all work. I mean, that might be a lot. I mean, I don't know that it's a reason to not take the best player, Steven, but that's a lot in the sidecar there, I think.
And that's why I wouldn't do it personally. I guess my theory here is we know that Manny Malhotra knows how to work with younger players. We saw that in the AHL where he was tasked with bringing that team to the Calder Cup final, and they won. I wonder if he's kind of there as a stopgap until they find a guy a few years from now when they're ready to be competitive, because we know the Canucks are in the the rebuild here. They've admitted it as such. I feel like they're kind of treating it as year one. Maybe this is something where they give him 3 years to kind of just work with the young guys, young core, get the most out of them, and then the plan would be to move on and find someone different, find a more veteran voice, find someone new, and that'd be very interesting to see because we do see, a lot of these teams that have gone to the bottom that will make coaching changes by the time they're competitive. So I do wonder if this is something where it's more of a short-term thing. That being said, I would hate the pressure of, for like if you've got to bench your own son, like that's going to be tough. But at the same time, I know it's very easy to make jokes about the Vancouver Canucks given all the off-ice and on-ice stuff we've heard about them the last couple of years. But they're still a professional hockey organization run by professional people. It's new voices from what we heard last year. You just kind of have to trust that maybe they'll handle this correctly here and they'll be able to get the most out of their coach and the most out of Caleb Mahalter if they pick him. But again, that's the pressure I wouldn't do myself.
Steven, if you have time for a couple that are off, they're prospect-y questions, but they're off of this year's class. A lot of our attention here since the Sabres got eliminated, in Game 7 against Montreal has been on, bracing for Tuck leaving and the kids. Like, can we just bank on Ostlund and Helen Hughes and even Yuri Kulik, who's coming back after missing mostly the entire year with a blood clot issue. I think our audience would like to hear you talk about maybe all three guys, if you can remember, like what you thought about them coming out and what they have developed into, and just how bankable any of the three might be to like take a big role on a team that had 109 points last year.
Yeah, when you look at a guy like Constant in particular, he's a guy that a lot of scouts are telling me in his draft here that he was one of the most NHL-ready players. And you saw what he was able to do this year in Rochester. You saw what he was able to do in the playoffs and in the World Championship. Like, that's a really promising way to end the season. I think the World Championship can be overlooked a lot because it's not the best players. But for him to go out there and really kind of force his way to play with Barkov and then not only play well, but be Finland's best player most nights, that's a guy that's you got to think is going to be coming in with so much confidence for next year. So I'm really like him. Fosslin, I still think he's this great skater, great hands, good two-way game. I think I'm not completely sure what type of player he's going to be, but he's got that skill, he's got that pace, he can drive the play. So I do think there's a lot to like there. I'm a big Rudy Murka fan. I think this is a guy that's, with all the talk about him being involved with the trade of the St. Louis Blues, that would have been a tough blow and a tough hole to fill, but that's a guy that averaged like over 30 minutes a night half the time this year in Seattle and WHL, and that's really difficult for a guy that's, he can play offensively, but that's not necessarily his game. I think he's better at shutting guys down and breaking up plays. So, Buffalo's prospect pool, we're talking about a mid-pack one, but compared to a lot of other contenders that are kind of in the same, points range as them, Buffalo's got one of the better pipelines. So I like what they're doing there, and the fact that that's also partly why I think I'd like to see them keep that 4th overall pick. I know we're talking about the team being a contender now, but Chase Reed might be ready to play a lot of minutes in like 2 years.
Interesting.
That's not too far away. That's the time, hopefully we're talking about their 3rd playoff run in a row. That's what they're going to be aiming for. That's why I kind of like them holding that pick. But they do have a decent pipeline still, obviously not as good as it was, when they were still trying to churn guys out over and over again, but this is a good group.
Last thing, Steven, you mentioned earlier a drop-off at around pick 10. The Sabres made a move earlier this month, I guess, probably, Kesselring, to go from 27 to 20. What was the significance of that move, or is it to you as you see the board? Like, is 20 significantly different? Is it meaningfully better than 27? Maybe not. What do you think?
It's a lot of the scouts I've got, you kind of don't see a huge difference between that. So these guys look like 275 NHL trades ago at this point. But I think when you're looking at Buffalo, you're probably going to get a guy like Elton Hermanson, who's maybe one of the more skilled forwards in this draft, a good forward. Oliver Savanto, if you want a big center. Adam Novotny would be very interesting, a goal-scoring winger. Like, there is going to be some good options there. Some of those guys might have still been around at 27, but I feel like now they're more likely to get a really solid winger at that pick, and they're going to be pretty happy with it if that's what they end up doing.
If they keep it. His cat writes his tweets. Steven Ellis, if you don't believe me or his bio, there's a picture of a cat. Seems to be tweeting, I don't know, going pretty well for you to have a cat so knowledgeable about draft prospects. Nice to have you in Buffalo, Steven. Thanks, as always, for your time today.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Okay, Steven Ellis, Daily Faceoff. Wanted to ask him about covering this event.
Call him back.
Without the tomorrow at 4. Covering this event without the teams here has got to be a drag. I mean, relatively speaking. There's going to be so much more. All the executives and coaches, like they're all at the draft before last year, I guess, right? The last
that's
just
right.
last year.
Yeah, last year was the first decentralized draft, I think is how they phrase it.
Way worse to host an event this way for like the host city if you don't have all those team people in town.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's more like really just a TV show is coming to be shot in your arena.
Think of the Wings.
Kind of, yeah.
20 people, thereabouts, per team, traveling to the draft. 15, whatever. They're all going out for wings.
Yep.
They're in Buffalo for the weekend. That's what they're doing.
It's a lot of business.
That's a lot of wings unsold.
Yep.
Too bad. Hopefully the show isn't as awkward to watch. I'm not optimistic. I don't know.
I have no idea what to expect, but I'm bracing for weird because it's the NHL, and there's always a chance that they're just not going to have it all buttoned up.
Jeremy White on his birthday, 100 holes of golf today. It's that day, raising money for charity every year, and the sun came out, so hopefully it's drying up and not just sloshy on the golf course. We'll get a report from Jeremy, see how he's holding up here as we're pretty far into the day at this point. How many holes do you think? Are we in the 70s?
I saw a tweet, I think, before we started talking to Steven that they were in the tee box at hole number 69.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would think in the 70s. They fly through them pretty fast.
All on foot.
Right.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. We'll talk to Jeremy next. Paul Hamilton later on. This is WGR.
More trades are starting to come down in the NHL. The latest one, the Blue Jackets are getting in on the fun. They are acquiring forward Valeri Nichushkin from Colorado for a 2026 second, a 2027 third, and a 2028 fifth-round pick. Earlier today, Flyers get a fifth in 26 and a fourth in 27, and they send Florida Garnet Hathaway and a sixth in 2026. And then the Penguins, they get forward Hendrix Lapierre, and they send Washington a third in 27 and a fifth in 2028. And the NHL draft, it is tomorrow right here in Buffalo, and coverage of the NHL draft is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and by Dash's Market. Serving Western New York for over 100 years, shop the family of finer foods. To the World Cup, we have got 2 games underway currently. Germany and Ecuador, they are tied 1-1 in about the 32nd minute. And then Ivory Coast, they are up on Curacao 1-0 around the same time. Coming up much later on tonight, the United States is going to finish up their group stage play. They'll face off against Turkey. The U.S., though, has already won their group, and all likelihood they're going to be playing Bosnia and Herzegovina in the round of 32, but they do play at 10 o'clock tonight, and there could be some lineup changes as well. Plus, we could see the return of Christian Pulisic, who has not played since game number 1. That game time is at 10, same with Australia and Paraguay, and then in the middle of that at 7, we'll have Japan versus Sweden and Netherlands taking on Tunisia. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
$100 holes of golf in one day. Old hat for Jeremy at this point? Old hat? What does that even mean? Old hat.
Familiar. Comfortable. Ooh, I don't know about comfortable.
Old hat.
I don't know how comfortable it is to play.
Not even like the expression is even like it fits like an old hat. It's just old hat. That's all you need. Just 2 words. Boom. Old hat. Gets the job done. Jeremy is with us now. What hole are we on?
Ooh, 73.
How's your pace? Pretty good? Normal?
Yeah, pretty good. I'll tell you, I think this is my 6th year, guys, and I can happily report this is the first time ever doing this that a routine question is, have the Sabres done anything today?
Right.
People are excited. You know, it's kind of new.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not an eye roll. You could ask these questions in theory, but it's not an eye roll right now.
So far, no.
Sure.
Yeah.
No. But the latest, I don't know, I know Owen's out there with you, so he's probably on his phone while he's trying to film you guys and carry golf bags or whatever he's doing for you. But Pierre LeBrun, earlier today, we mentioned that he says the feeling around the league from other teams in the league is that the Sabres are not going to pick 4th, that they're going to move it in some trade.
Okay.
And I get I think I saw a clip or heard a clip of you this morning, and you're on team pick with Mike, I think.
Yes.
It just depends on who they can get, but I just don't think they can get somebody worth 4. But if they can, then that's great. You know, you made a deal where the other team gave you something you're not supposed to get, and I don't want to just give it right back. You know, it seems like that value would be tough to get. Meanwhile, Owen and I, through the course of the last 18 holes, like, we've traded for Werenski. We've traded for, you name it. We have built Team USA North. We got Werenski and Hellebuck. You know, so we're doing our part.
Hockey 82-0. Does your caddy have time to try to build super teams?
Right.
So if you're on 73, I think that would be hole 1. If you started on hole 1 at the beginning of the day. I'm not sure if you did, though.
No. We mix it around. There's 29 golfers, so some groups start on 1 and 3 and 5. And the way this course is laid out, there are a number of crossovers with the clubhouse. So, you know, your 9 will end on the 14th hole or whatever it is. So we're on like the 8th hole, and that's 73 or 74. I know there's like 5 or 6 holes left, one more change, and then we go out for the final 18. So whatever the math is on that, like probably the 74th hole in that neighborhood.
How is this the first year that the weather was this bad for as long as it was? Because it seemed like most of the morning, it must be nice now, I'm assuming, but the morning had to be pretty challenging.
Yeah, I'm on speaker now as I hit a shot while I tell you exactly all this. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we got you. Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, it was, if anyone can remember the Houston game a couple of years ago, Houston and the Bills, it rained recklessly. It was a lot like that.
All right, pin high left. Good shot. It was a decent shot. It was not great. It was a decent shot.
Distance?
But there's no time to wait. It's a walk-in talk like on the tour. Yeah, I mean, really drenched. Everybody drenched. Rain gear, stressed. Every step is squish. The course drains wonderfully. So by the time we finish out, when the families come, when the banquet comes, I mean, they might not even know that it rained. So, but yeah, it was a challenging effort early on. There was a year it rained so bad, and it was the rain was late in the day where we couldn't finish because there's rivers on the greens. But we're going to get to this one today, and yeah, it's been a battle. Multiple socks, multiple shoes, multiple rain gear sets, constant. Now we're in the clear.
This is the Bills' win over the Texans, I believe, by the score of 40-0 in the rain. It was my
Davis
son,
Mills, 4 interceptions.
Davis Mills, who just got revenge on them last year. My son's first ever game that he attended. Happy birthday, Jeremy, by the way. Didn't mention that yet.
Yeah. Happy birthday, teammate. Hell of a way to spend your
you.
birthday. I know you love this event. You and Nate. Nate, by the way, texted me to ask you, on average, how much farther his drives are going than yours.
Well, I think the average drive that bounces off a sprinkler head gets like 50 yards. So, he's hitting a lot of sprinkler heads. I can't see. They're out there pretty far, but I can only imagine there's a lot of lucky breaks.
You might not know how well positioned you were by having to hit a shot on the show with us. If you heard Sal a week or two ago was out playing golf, and I was Bulldog was not here. I was setting up that Sal was about to be joining me on the air, and he had his phone on speaker as I was doing that, and he holed out from like 80 yards or something like that.
Wow, nice.
So I told him next time he plays golf, maybe he has to call me. I'll just talk as background for Sal.
Yeah, I'd love to follow up, but I'm about now 450 yards out, so that's going to be difficult for me to duplicate.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, for folks who we might be making a lot of assumptions about our audience knowing exactly what we are talking about, what are you and Nate actually doing today?
So we're playing 100 holes of golf at Wanaka Country Club with a lot of the members here, and they've done it for 10 years, and they started to invite us, 5-6 years ago to kind of get the message out there for the foundations that we raise the money for, and that's the Luca Kalani Foundation, family friend of ours who was an 11-year-old boy who died from complications from the flu, and we had a foundation formed to raise money for kids in this area for athletic opportunities, to go to camps, get uniforms. If there's a basketball hoop that needs repairing, get after that, facilities, things like that, get kids that maybe don't have the opportunities that some do to get better opportunities. That's part of it. The other part of it is for Roswell Park, the Courage of Carly Fund, that helps kids and families that are dealing with pediatric cancer and blood disorders. So it's a lot of guys that have come out for now 10 years that are trying to raise money, asking friends, getting pledges for birdies, for pars, for miles walked, to try to raise as much as we can. And over the course of, however many years, some years it's $200,000 and $250,000 and this and that. And, it's fundraising season. This area gives a lot of money between the 11-day and the Ride for Roswell. They're all competing, but all on the same team, So
right.
This is our event we're really proud of and really happy to be a part of. And, so grateful for all the donations that come in and how we're able to have fun with it as well. Whether it's, just here on the course or with people out there that show an interest, because it's a lot of golf, It's quite an undertaking. I said earlier in the height of the rain that it's very much like a Bills game where you're just out in the elements and you're looking at each other and you're saying, well, we're really doing this. We are not going in. We are going to stay the whole time, and we're going to do this because we might be crazy, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Get your badge.
Well, I did see, I mentioned there was some video a little bit ago, and I would say for all Nate's trash talk about his drives, he didn't look like he was moving around very well, which I guess, 70 holes in, I guess that might stand to reason, but I just hope you guys can make it.
Yeah, I mean, you do tighten up a bit. Sometimes the breaks happen, and, you get a little stiff.
Here's one more drive for you guys if you want. I'll try to hole out if I can.
Yeah, please.
It's
Care
gonna be
for
deep.
once. Sounded good.
Oh, he smoked it. It's not bad.
Sounded good.
Is that Owen I heard there? Oh, he smoked it? Is that what that was? All right.
Yeah.
Hello, son.
There's a lot of, how golf works. There's a lot of lifting each other up, good ball and all that when you're playing a regular round. When you're in the 70th hole, I mean, everybody's lifting everybody up here. Great shot. What a ball.
Oh, you should see now. You should bring John Gale with you, because I know you've heard and watched me lose my temper with him when he goes, "Oh, good one," when I've like hooked it into the fescue, because he just says "good one" no matter what. Like he can't see, but he just wants to support you. That's what you need him tagging along on this.
I don't appreciate that. I only want a compliment if I deserve it.
Right.
Straight is paramount. You're playing a golf marathon. You know, you're not exactly playing for a score. If you shank one, that's a lot more walking. Straight, duff it, fine. The ball's right there. It's a straight line, but over there, way over there is bad.
Yeah.
Don't hit it way over there.
Actually, I want that back. You don't want Gale. He'll just be talking to everyone and never do what he's there to do. So you can't have that. It wouldn't work.
Well, one thing about today's round, and when I say round, I think I'm in the 4th and a half round. With it being so wet, you don't get any roll, and I've just been playing like I've been joking senior citizen, all due respect, golf, where all my shots are short but straight. And I'm noticing that if you just hit it straight all the time, it doesn't have to go far. You're just going to end up putting for pars all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the game is a lot easier if we just hit it straight and not even that far and don't care about the hero shots. And, maybe a lesson to be learned there. I'm not going to learn it.
Yeah, no.
Seniors have something to say. And they would say this. I was listening to the Open coverage on the radio. It's always a drive week for me with my son playing lacrosse. And one of the commentators, his name is Damron, Robert Damron, who's a former PGA player. He was talking, Hale Irwin was in the booth. And he told Hale Irwin that his dad just shot his age. And everybody was like, oh, wow. Then he said, by 20. He said his dad is 85 and he shot 65 at Bay Hill. Maybe he had to get a little bit of a distance there to shoot 65 at Bay Hill as an 85-year-old man.
Where are the tees? I'm going to want to ask that.
You're going to pick at an 85-year-old guy's career round. I would too. It's fair. If you're gonna tout it.
What fun is it to just stand in the tee box and hit a straight 5-iron and then hit another 5-iron? I mean, get the big guy out and let it. Oh well, whatever. It's in the bison cage. Fine. Yeah. That's more fun.
I'm not out here to manage the game. I'm out here to jump over linebackers,
Right.
That's right. On that note, congratulations, Jeremy. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday again. Love you, kid.
All right. There's Jeremy. Nice to anytime you can do it. Nice to reference an actual Bills win over Houston.
Sure.
Because that's not the game that comes right to mind for me between those two teams. Week 1. The Texans are wearing all white, just to give you a chance to plan ahead.
Okay.
Opener at home in Houston, all white. Fans will all be wearing white.
Does that mean the Bills are going to be in all blue then?
Probably. Or just blue and white. Yeah, I don't like the all blue. It's a softball uniform.
Yeah.
All one color in football is a softball uniform. Or baseball. Now baseball teams are all tricked out.
Except all white. All white also is a baseball uniform, but I love the aesthetic.
That's the exception.
Totally works.
Yeah. All white is fine. Baseball teams have been wearing all white for generations.
All one color. Any other color.
Softball.
No. Miss me with that.
Have some respect. Have some self-respect.
Yeah.
Paul coming up at 5. The draft starts round 1 tomorrow night in Buffalo. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, Paul Hamilton just after the update in about 12 minutes. Let's go to Troy next. Hi, Troy.
Hey, good afternoon. A few 48 hours ago, I was happy we had number 20, and now that we fell into number 4, I want to get greedy here. I want to try to get number 2 somehow and replicate the Josh Allen ladder that we built during that draft to get up high, and either McKenna or Stenberg. And I was wondering, what about 4 and either Kleber or Merca to get up to 2 and getting our hands on either Stenberg or Gavin McKenna? I just want to see what you guys thought.
Okay. You can forget about McKenna. I mean, anything could still happen, I suppose, but it would be the stunner of all stunners if the Leafs didn't take McKenna. So he's going to be gone. We just talked about this with Steven Ellis earlier in the hour, draft analyst from Daily Faceoff, who's in town covering this, and he pointed out, I think rightly so, that they picked up the 9th pick here in the trade earlier in the week, and that might give them the Sharks,
Yep.
the buffer to get the defenseman they need and not force it at 2 if that's what it would be doing, and just pick Stenberg. I like you. One of the first things I thought about today was, could I do that? Is that doable? Do they value Chase Reed so much that they'd like to get paid for taking him at 4? If they could be, I don't know how sure you could be. If Vancouver does take their new coach's son at 3, then the defenseman would be sitting there for them. But they have another top 10 pick that I think could make it. It might be hard to get their appetite up to move down because they've got that 9th pick.
What's an offer you would make, though?
I don't mind what the caller suggested. I don't. I think you'd be getting a look at a player that could be in your lineup right away, which, doesn't have to be the most important thing here. But the main reason I want to trade for and get an NHL player is because I got holes to fill, and drafting Chase Reed, as good as he might be even a year from now, isn't going to do anything for me this year. And I need to make sure I am improving my team, or trying to, keep my team at the level it was, which is challenging without Byram and Tuck here already. So NHL player is my focus with that 4th pick if I can do it.
So maybe it's not possible, but if it were, you might have to give up 4 and someone good, like we're talking about all the time in these fantasies about getting a star from whether Dallas or Winnipeg or whoever. Paul Hamilton on the subject next. This is WGR.
Trades are beginning to ramp up again in the NHL. The latest one, the Blue Jackets, getting in on the fun and acquiring forward Valeri Nichushkin from Colorado for a 2026 second, a 27 third, and a 28 fifth-round pick. Earlier today, the Flyers get a 5th in 26 and a 4th in 27, and they send Florida forward Garnet Hathaway and a 6th in 26. And then the Penguins, they get forward Hendrix Lapierre by sending Washington a 3rd in 27 and a 5th in 28. And this is all in preparation for the NHL draft tomorrow here in Buffalo. Round 1 will be tomorrow, and our coverage of the NHL draft, on WGR is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy case. What's your outlet? By Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and by Dash's Market, serving Western New York for over 100 years. Shop the family of finer foods. Do stay tuned. Paul Hamilton is going to join the show next. And over in the World Cup, we've got 2 games at halftime right now. Germany and Ecuador, it's all tied at 1, and Ivory Coast leads Curacao 1-0. At 7, we're going to have Japan versus Sweden, and the Netherlands taking on Tunisia. And then at 10 o'clock, we'll have the United States finishing up the group stage when they play Turkey. The U.S., though, has already won their group, and all signs are pointing to them playing Bosnia-Herzegovina in their round of 32 matchup. So today could be a bit of a lineup change, including potentially seeing the likes of Christian Pulisic, who has not played in a game and a half. Again, we'll probably get all of that closer to game time at 10, and then the other one at that time will be Australia versus Paraguay. Then in baseball, Bisons are at Iowa, first pitch at 7:38, and that one could be heard over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Staying up for Team USA?
It's meaningless. No.
I so am.
No, although I am.
The other game's good.
I do have the day off tomorrow, but that doesn't matter. I will fall asleep at 10:30.
Okay, well, that's healthy.
That doesn't matter. Anything could be going on.
I think Paraguay is versus Australia at the same time in San Francisco is a game where both teams benefit by a tie. 4 points.
Yeah, there were going to be a couple of those, I think.
Oh yeah, there's Algeria,
Austria, maybe.
That one is like it's definitive.
Yeah,
not sure this one is, but I don't know. Maybe I will fall asleep.
I know we were talking about this while we were golfing last weekend because Jeremy had already sort of mapped out that could happen or would happen, and he's like, you can still bet draw on the gambling apps. Like, it was still up. Like, go do it because it's absolutely going to happen. I doubt that that's still the case, but I haven't looked.
That's Algeria and Austria, you think?
I believe that those are the 2 teams that I first heard about having this opportunity.
That's too bad because it's such a classic rivalry.
Right.
Paul Hamilton with us now. Dare I ask, Paul, thoughts on World Cup? Are you interested at all?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know what it is, though.
I know what it is, basically, but yeah. When it's on, and like a couple times it's been on around me, I saw offsides for a goal. That's about all I've seen of the whole thing. I don't even know who was playing. Yeah, not my thing.
All right.
You won't be staying up.
You're lost,
No.
Paul. I mean,
I'll be staying up, but I won't be watching it.
What if Team USA goes to the final? Then?
I probably wouldn't know they're in the final.
Wow.
Well, if you found out.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
If you found out that they were in the World Cup final for the first time, you would pass.
I guess.
Okay. Well, media assembling, players assembling, not teams, as we talked about. We don't have that anymore with the draft. I know we've talked about that element before, but how does that work for you? You're going to be out at the stadium, not the arena, but the stadium to cover the NHL draft. I mean, is it better this way? No.
And Mike, really, media isn't assembling either. It's just Buffalo media and national media who are like TSN, who has draft coverage, or whoever has the draft coverage. That's the media that will be here. There won't be media from other cities, here because they're doing the same thing we are. I mean, we're at the stadium and they're at where their GM and scouting staff is at home. So there'll be very little media around. It's just the media from national outlets that are covering the event.
Is that what you did last year? What did you do last year?
I was at the stadium.
Okay, so you didn't go.
Same,
Was it in Vegas last year?
Vegas the year before was the last one where everybody was at. So
Right.
it went out with a bang. That was nice. But last year, it was in Los Angeles, but it's the same thing as what's in Buffalo. All that's in Buffalo is players being introduced by Gary Bettman and then doing interviews in the basically for the Buffalo media, and Toronto media will be down here.
And for the TV, like the TV show.
The
They'll
TV,
do interviews on the TV show, which last year was really, really tough or hilarious, depending on your perspective, I guess. I doubt
Toronto media will be down here. I lied. I would expect them here.
Right.
To talk
Picking first.
Too.
Yeah, right.
But they're here to talk to their first pick, and they too are going to have people elsewhere. So, I mean, their GM and their scouting staff. So, but there's enough people working at TSN. And, well, seriously, I don't know who's covering the draft for them, TSN, Sportsnet, whoever it is. But if you're not covering it, I'm sure there will be media here from Toronto.
Yeah. I wonder, with all that being said here, Paul, like how desirable an event this will become on the NHL calendar. Like I'm sure the Sabres were glad to have it, but it's just not what it's been. And so I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see what it's like for people who do go to the arena, because I don't think anyone's allowed to go to the stadium where you're going to be working.
No,
right, just a media event only.
It'll generate more revenue than usually you would have down there. I mean, because players and their families will all be having rooms and meals and that type of thing, so that they'll have X amount of players and their families here. As I said, the national medias will be here. So it'll be busier than normal down there. You have, the concert down there at the ballpark. You've got watch parties for soccer down there, from what I understand, watching the news just a little while ago. So there are going to be people down there, and restaurants are going to be busy and that type of thing. But no, not what you would have had it been a full draft like we've had the first two here.
It is Sportsnet covering the event in Canada,
you.
by the way.
Thank you.
ESPN has round one, and NHL Network has Saturday in the States. So, Paul, what's your latest feeling about whether the Sabres will use pick 4?
I would assume they would like to trade it, but they're not going to do it just for obviously
Just
they're not
give it
going to
away,
do it
right.
just for the sake of doing it. They'll be more than happy to make the pick if that's what it's going to take to. If that's what you have to do is make the pick. So, what you heard what Jarmo Kekalainen said yesterday, that for the time being, starting at that point when he was talking, which was around 1:30 in the afternoon, that they will just be listening, about the number 4 pick. They're inviting teams to call and, what are you willing to give up for the number 4 pick? And once they have a good thought of where it might go, who might be interested, what kind of negotiation can happen, then they'll kind of swing into action. Maybe they already have. Maybe the listening part is over. And now they have an idea of what it is worth. And would it be worth their while to make a trade, or is there a trade even out there? So that was the way he was going to handle it.
We talked yesterday about the idea of using it to acquire a goalie, Hellebuck, presumably. And I think all three of us are in agreement. Like, that's not something I want to do with the pick. Like, what's the threshold for you? Does it have to be number 1 center, a top pair type defender, even though they don't really need a top pair defender? They need a top 4 defender to replace Byram. Where's the cutoff for you, right? Because, like, for me, Paul, I can be very guilty of sort of treating it the way you don't want to treat it, which devalues it, right? It's like, I wasn't expecting to have this, And I wanted to turn Bowen Byram into Matthew Nyes. So if Toronto will take the 4th pick for Matthew Nyes, I would do that, and I probably am an idiot.
Yeah.
So, because I'm overvaluing Nyes by paying that much for it, but, it's an asset that I just want to use to make my team better, and I think he would accomplish that. But still, I don't want to overpay. So for you, where's that threshold? Is Dylan Larkin worth the 4th overall pick, but not Matthew Nyes?
Yeah, I've been kicking that around kind of out loud on the air a few times. I don't remember if you and I were kicking it around or you get a finished player who's probably still has more of an upside at age 23.
Mm-hmm.
Has already,
yeah, right.
Yeah, has already scored over 20 goals and maybe could get it up to 30. So you don't have to go through the process of waiting 2-3 years for this player to develop or longer. The player's already here and ready to go and is young and will be around for a while. But when I think number 4 pick, Makar was a number 4 selection overall, and so was Byram, by the way. I believe Quinn Hughes was too, was he not?
I think he's on that list too, yes.
So some very, very good hockey players who are a lot better than Matthew Nyes have been taken 4th overall. But, all right, you could maybe get the best defenseman in this draft. 3-4 years down the road, would you rather have the best defenseman in this draft or Nyes? Problem is, we're talking 3 or 4 years down the road, and that's not what we should be talking right now.
Right.
And a forward's a little bit easier because if you get one of the forwards and they're talking about forwards being the top 3 picks, meaning the best defenseman would be available to the Buffalo Sabres. Forwards tend to be able to get into the league faster. Benson would be a good example, than defensemen do. So if you're able to get one of the forwards, you might be able to get a guy who could be available to you at some point this year, maybe next, depending on where they're going, what they're doing, where they're playing. So you might be able to get a forward that's a little bit closer to being ready to play and being, quote, a maybe superstar type of a talent.
Yeah.
So it just depends. And Jerry Thornton has a really good sense of how the draft. I would almost guarantee you he has I do guarantee you he does have a board, and I would almost guarantee you he'll have the top 4 nailed, and he'll have it. He almost always does. So he probably has a pretty good idea how this draft is going to fall and how it's going to fall for the Sabres. But at the end of the day, whether we're talking Robertson, whether we're talking Dylan Larkin, if we're talking Nyes, I don't know. I just don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, right.
I guess since I don't know where to go with that, I probably should say no.
Don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it. I think that probably would be the thing to say.
Yeah, I wonder if 20 and one of the kids gets it done. Or 20 and one of the kids and, I don't know, Ryan McLeod. The Leafs, the reason the Leafs, if anyone's out there wondering why, because I've wondered this, and I still do. We talked with Matt Larkin last week, and he wondered the same thing. Why do you want to trade Matthew Nyes?
Yeah,
he's 23, 7.75. He's got, a contract that he signed before the cap went crazy. He scored 29 goals 2 years ago. He's a penalty killer. Did I say he's 6'4"? He's perfect, right? So you get pretty excited about the idea of doing that. So, Toronto is trying to keep Austin Matthews happy. Nyes has been playing with Matthews a lot. He even killed penalties with him this past season. I know that the bottom fell out on that team last year, but still, why does Toronto want to trade him? Well, they need pieces. And if you can give them, this is where maybe the pick isn't as valuable to them as 3 guys that could be in their lineup on opening night. Right? And so maybe that's more the route you go if you're going to do that, because I think their reason for moving him is to get guys that can play for them too, not just one guy in Matthew Nyes, as excellent as I think he is.
Well, they're going to get a guy that could probably play with them at number 1 overall.
Sure, right.
And then if they need defensemen, and if they could pull down the top defenseman in the draft at 4, which probably isn't going to play this year, But again, it's really going to improve your defense, 2-3 years down the road, or unless they want to rush him into the lineup, which, well, Owen Power got rushed in the lineup, and now we see that was a mistake because it took him 4 years to really develop into what we were expecting, which isn't really off the map. It's kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But he was the number 1 overall pick, so it's like, well, he's got to play. Does he? But then he didn't. He played 1 more year of college, and then came to Buffalo. But still,
it took a while. Sure,
he wasn't ready.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Robertson idea, Paul? Like that is a big assets. That's 4 for sure, probably 20, and then a couple of other pieces, I think, and then it's $14 million, which I know.
I was going to say between 12 and 14, somewhere in there. It might not be quite 14.
Yeah, but still, it's huge. It's huge. Like he's, maybe in the top 5 salaries in the league.
He's
by
2
the time
Thompsons.
It's all over, right?
Yeah.
He's 2 Thompsons-ish, right?
Boy, do you think Thompson regretted saying long-term contract?
Right. What are you going to do? It's how it goes.
It's kind of like Tuck. Tuck's never complained about what he made, but he signed the deal. It was less than $5 million, so he's had to live with it. And Thompson's kind of in the same boat.
Yeah. So Robertson, is that too rich for you? All of it, the contract that it would require, and all of the pieces to acquire him.
$14 million is, I think, out of hand for him. To be quite honest with you, but if it's more towards 12, I think I could get talked into it. As far as the assets that you're going to have to pay, I would pay. 4 and 20, I think, is reasonable. Depends who the prospect is you're talking about. I don't think I'm going 4.20 in Mertka. I think that's a little out of hand. But the Sabres have a lot of good prospects.
And certainly you're not you would exclude, if you're going to exclude Mertka, I assume you're excluding Ostlund, Helenius, and Kulik as well, right?
I kind of had Kulik on my head.
Yeah, okay.
That, especially with Helenius and Ostlund coming, that maybe I could live with 4.20 in Kulik. I just Mertka, I think, is going to be really good, and I just, not that I don't think Kulik is going to be really good, but again, as I said, you've got 2 other forwards that are really on the cusp right here and ready to play, and you'd be bringing a forward in that would be ready to play. So yeah, I think I don't know if Ellis could live with 4.20 in Kulik, but I think I could.
Mertka, what kind of a clue is it, if it is any clue, that the Sabres had agreed to trade him at the deadline? Is it some sort of clue that they might not be as optimistic as we should be?
They desperately wanted Thomas, and that's what the price was.
Well, no, Parayko. That was the Parayko trade. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He might have been in the Thomas package too, but it never really got off the ground. But
he was.
Yeah, Parayko. That was reported. Like that was Mertka and whatever else.
This year's one.
Yeah. Okay.
27.
Now that I've seen another year of Mertka, I probably would have regretted that. I don't know if I would have regretted it when we were talking about it, but I just another year of growth, and I think this kid is going to be special, and I think last year I probably would have said fine, but now that I've seen another year of him and the promise that he has, I don't, for that trade, I don't think. For Thomas, yes. For Parayko, I would probably be saying I was wrong.
Yeah. All right, Paul. Well, I don't know what else. What haven't we covered here?
Moving up to 2.
Right.
That's an idea.
Potentially with San Jose. Yeah, I mean, I guess that, we could kick that around. I did think about that this morning. Whether you could whet their appetite. Like if they really want a defenseman, they shouldn't have to do it at 2. They could get paid to move down and pick a defenseman, but they also have the 9th pick. Then that kind of complicates it a little bit. Probably.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head, what is the real advantage for the Sabres to jump to 2 and then have to waste a little bit of their prospect camp or whatever it might be. It's just not going to be 2 for 4.
Right.
So you're going to have to.
Yep.
So what is the advantage for Buffalo to move up to 2?
Getting Stenberg, like a player that could probably be in your opening night lineup.
Yeah, he could. He could, definitely. But what I'm thinking is, if you're in the running for Larkin or you're in the running for Robertson, I mean, those 2 players have said, okay, I'll go.
Yeah. Well, that's
you're in the running for it. That's what I had in my mind.
You don't want to trade the 4th pick if you're.
What do you want to? Because you're going to need some of these assets to make that trade happen. You would have to give up some of those assets to jump to 2. That's what I had in my head.
Gotcha.
That the bigger trade, you might need those assets that you would have to give away to go up to 2. I wasn't thinking of the actual player you're drafting. I'm still thinking trading when we're talking about that.
I know what we haven't talked about yet, and it was the reason that when I walked in here and said, hey, I said to Mike, I didn't arrange Paul, but Benson was new since we last talked to Paul, and here we are 20 minutes into this conversation, and we haven't mentioned the Benson contract.
Oh, yeah.
So you're 7 for 7.5. Not a surprise. It was in the wind. No. But just your reaction to the ascension of Zack Benson, Paul, because, boy, before the playoffs started, we would have had a conversation in here about the way forward, eventually once the offseason does get here. And I remember advocating for bridging him. And then the playoffs happened, and his star rose to the extent that I was no longer thinking about a bridge. But it happened quickly.
Yeah, no, it's a good contract for both sides, I think. Now he makes more money than Tage Thompson, to get back to what we were just saying before.
Right.
But again, Tage Thompson has to live with it. He signed his contract, and that's on him. He could have waited, and he decided to take the long-term deal because a lot of guys were back when that was happening, both in Buffalo and around the league. So, it's I think a good contract for Buffalo. To have that done, to have him locked up, even nationally, I don't know if I've heard anybody say, what are they doing? The type of a thing. I think it's pretty, whether we're talking locally, nationally, that people think that's a really good contract for both sides, and it's something that both sides are going to be able to live with. And I still think there's more to come offensively because we started to see it in the last 30-some-odd games last year in the regular season and then in the playoffs. And, it's only his 3rd year, and he's 21 years old. And he did set season highs in goals, assists, and points. And I think he's going to continue to do that.
All right, Paul, nice talking to you. We'll do it again tomorrow.
All right, take care, guys.
There you go. That is our Paul Hamilton on the Wester Hotline. His appearances on WGR brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this.
I'm open to all these ideas. You're so negative toward the Trocheck idea that I'll join you there. The report I saw today was a first plus, potentially.
For him?
Here, let me throw this out. How about just minus instead of plus? What does that get me? What if I don't pay the extra
right.
or anything? But I do think experience is probably like this, is probably a sharp area to look for a move.
It's the only thing about that idea that I like is that it's a veteran. I think the dude has a beard all the time, not just a playoff beard. Like he's 32. He's been in the league a long time, and he's had some very good years. I'm very worried about the bottom falling out on him. I don't think the foot speed is great, really, at this point in his career, and I just really, really worry about what they want to do with him. But he is experienced, and I do want that. So, that's about the best I can do.
He had a real good playoff for the Rangers 3 years ago, 20 points in 16 games, at least by the scoring stats. 803-0550. What do you want to see from the Sabres by tomorrow night? Mike Schopp and the Bulldog will look for your calls right after the update here on WGR.
The NHL stays consistent. Another day full of trades, as tomorrow is the first round of the NHL draft right here in Buffalo. The latest trade we got, Blue Jackets getting in on the fun and acquiring forward Valeri Nichushkin from Colorado for 26 second, a 27 third, and a 28 fifth round pick. Earlier today, the Flyers get a 5th and 26 and a 4th and 27 and send Florida Garnet Hathaway in a 6th and 26. And the Penguins get forward Hendrix Lapierre, and they send Washington a 3rd and 27 and a 5th and 28 to get that done. And as previously mentioned, tomorrow, round 1 of the NHL draft right here in Buffalo, and coverage of the NHL draft on WGR is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Fiegel Car and Joyce Shore Border Attorneys, and by Dash's Market, serving Western New York for over 100 years. Shop the family of finer foods. In the World Cup, we've got 2 games underway currently. Germany and Ecuador are all tied at 1 in the 70th minute. We're at a hydration break currently in that one. And then Ivory Coast, they lead Curacao 2-0. At 7, we're going to have Japan versus Sweden, and the Netherlands taking on Tunisia. And then at 10, the United States, they finish up their group stage play as they face off against Turkey, though the U.S. has already won the group. This game is effectively meaningless. They also, for the most part, know who they're going to play in the round of 32, as all signs point to Bosnia and Herzegovina. But there could be lineup changes, including the likes of Christian Pulisic, who has not played since the first half of game number 1. That game will be at 10 o'clock, and then Australia-Paraguay at the same time as well. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
We have a lot of faith in the group. I think that we talked to all of them in the 3 goalie rotation. No objection to it. They liked it. They felt that they had a great relationship. That's something that right now we're thinking of just doing the same thing, but it's like any position, whether it's D, forward, goaltenders, we're always looking to improve. If there's something that we think that can improve our goaltending, we'll do that.
Jarmo Kekalainen, the spotlight is on him, not just because the draft is in Buffalo. The Sabres are positioned in a way that might afford them a lot of options. Pick 4, pick 20, a slew of good young players on the cusp of good NHL careers. Right not to assume the best for each guy. I'm not sure how I even want to sort of separate them. 3, 4 players. Benson is now on a different list.
Right, he's made. Yeah.
Yes, he's got his contract. So, and then the goalies, and you just heard Kekalainen talk about that. Really, no idea seems impossible. It seems possible that they could trade 1 or 2 draft picks for an elite player. It seems possible that they will not do that because most teams don't. It's not easy to make those trades, and not everybody would want to. Go get your 18-year-olds. Any position, money might not be an object. Never assume that with the Sabres, but they have tons of room. You can really do or try to do almost anything.
Yeah. The Benson deal took a bite out of that, obviously, because that hits right away. He was an RFA, so he did not have an existing contract. So you're right up. You're from like about under $1 million to 7.5. Boom. So I think they had, after the moves that were made the day before with Byram and Greenway, I think they were at 21 and talk 21 million or thereabouts. And so now they should be about 14-ish with the Benson contract on the books. So
still healthy.
And yeah, I mean, if you're, listening to us talk about Jason Robertson and a $14 million contract for him, like, well, that's all my cap space. Well, you're probably, Dallas is taking Ryan McLeod or something. You're going to feed them $5 to $8 million in salaries, I think, in a trade, in addition to the 4th overall pick, if you were to make that trade. So you'd open up even more room if you did bite that off, I think.
Here's Dan with us. Hi, Dan.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing.
Back when the Sabres tried to trade for Colton Parayko, I know some people were down on it. They thought he didn't really fit in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back on Jarmo's press conference yesterday, or maybe the day before, I don't remember, knowing that Byram wasn't going to sign at all, your views on that trade if it would have went through?
Well, a little. I mean, I understand why they wanted to insulate themselves. I mean, Parayko still, whatever. I was one of the people that didn't love that trade, just style-wise. I wasn't sure that was a player that could really skate with them. But on the team as constructed when they were going to acquire him, he would have been a great third pair guy, which might sound insane, but he wasn't going to displace any of the top four. So I think it would have worked. If he were still here now, I would have a hard time because of the previous stated opinion that I don't think he can really skate and play the game, the 200-foot game they want those top four to play, that it would be a tough fit for me to say, well, I traded Byram away. That's all right. Parayko will play with power and it'll be fine. I think you'd be losing a lot of speed and skill on the ice. So do I wish I had him right now? Honestly, yeah. I mean, they could have really used him in the playoffs. And I think, it hurt to pivot to Logan Stanley and Luke Shen instead of Colton Parayko. But I'm not sure. I think I'd still be looking for a Byram replacement, if that's what you're really asking. I think I still would need a Byram replacement, in my opinion.
Dan, what do you think?
I don't know. That's why I was just curious about yours.
Yeah.
What do you also think about like a Matthew Nyes? If a 4 is too much, what about like a Matthew Nyes in a second round pick for maybe that number 4 overall pick? If Matthew Nyes is, and I'm changing the subject, but
yeah, no, okay. But you want to have the Leafs throw in. If I'm going to throw you 4 for Matthew Nyes, you want them to supplement the trade.
I don't need the second at all right now.
Yeah,
I've got pick 45 already in that round,
right? And my own second round.
No, that's gone.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yes,
to LA or to Toronto.
Right.
I got mixed up on that.
That's
yesterday.
right. They didn't have seconds or thirds this year.
Yeah, that doesn't really excite me. I think just with hockey, by the time you get to round 2, it's over. I know there are anybody can point to exceptions to that.
Matthew Nyes is a second round pick.
All right, there's one. Go on.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't, if you don't want to give up the 4th for Matthew Nyes, I don't think throwing a second coming back in really buffers that. I think if you're dug in on he's not good enough for the 4th overall pick, short of getting, like, I don't know, Brandon Carlo maybe to play with the guy the Sabres just picked up. Maybe that maybe that works. But I don't think the second round pick really moves the meter at all.
That's an idea. Dan, thanks. Good questions. Here's Mark next. Hi, Mark.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing. Thanks for
calling.
calling.
I do appreciate it.
All right.
What I'd like to say about number 1 is the Capitals and Tuke. Next season, I think they're going to be a better team and to watch out for them. As far as Trocheck goes, I'd only offer him the 3rd that we picked up. I agree with you that his foot speed may be slow, but not only that, teams like the Rangers, when they're ready to give up on somebody like that, they know something about the guy that he just doesn't fit anymore on there. And as far as the number 4 pick goes, wait at the table until it's your turn and then see if you can get a phone call or 2 and see if anybody wants to pick up then.
Well, I don't think there's really much to debate when it comes to Trocheck. He was on the block last year, too. The Rangers were terrible, and that's just a player you move no matter what he's got left.
At 32 years old.
Yeah, that's really what that is, I think. Just their standing and then his age put together. I think that's the extent of it, probably. I said yesterday, selfishly, I want this to go to the last minute also. I want this to be on the clock, and then we have the however many minutes that is to ponder what might happen. I think a trade, having said that, I think a trade of that potential magnitude, it's okay if it gets done early. Like, this is a big one. This would be a big one. Who said earlier? Jeremy said it when he was on with us. I just got this find with that number 4 overall. Maybe, doesn't matter. Maybe the Sabres knew for a while they could get it. Maybe it just sort of like they negotiated with teams and things got hot this week, and like Chicago was like, all right, just this is going to be my number one defenseman for the next decade. If it costs me this pick, I can live with it.
Yeah.
And now, don't be in any big. The draft is tomorrow, but you don't want to be in such a big rush to divest.
Mm-hmm.
It's too cool. Just let me have this for a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not how they're thinking.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I think, obviously, if a trade involving that pick and any of the players that we have talked about, Robertson, Larkin, even Hellebuck, Nyes, who am I leaving out? I don't know. That might be my working list right now. The groundwork for such a trade is going to have been done. What might take until the last minute is for Dallas or Detroit or Winnipeg to tell you, okay, actually, we're going to do it. Yes, now that we're right here at the gun, yes, we want to do it. It also could be something, good luck keeping a lid on it, but I could see the league wanting, if the Sabres do, and the Sabres too for that matter, like if they arrange a trade for Jason Robertson, I think they'd like the arena full when it gets announced, rather than having it leak out and, you're talking about it or we're talking about it at 4:30 in the afternoon. So it's possible that it gets done and we only all just find out about it at, whatever, when the Sabres' turn comes up. But you got to do the legwork and set it all up. So I doubt that somebody like that they haven't talked to is going to call at the last minute and go, "Hey, you want Connor McDavid?" That's not happening. Not just the McDavid part. I mean, I exaggerated there to even mention his name. So what? It'll probably, if it gets moved, we might not know about it until they're on the clock, which is fine. But it won't be a last minute. I doubt. Like you'll hear like, "Oh, we were talking about this back in March." Is usually how that goes. And I think that's been said enough times by enough people in the league that in all sports that I believe it. Like that these conversations, when these guys say, "Oh, I'm on the phone with my," we make fun of it at times, but I believe it. Like they'll really talk about, "All right, yeah, not now. I don't know. I don't like it. Leave it. Revisit." 2 months go by. Hey, I want to pick up where we left off on this thing, and then just sort of see if you can find your way to make a big deal. Like
At least if you're interested in a trade, at least there's action. I mean, this is not one of those years. We've had a lot of them where it seems like everybody just talks about how exciting it's going to be, and then there is no excitement. So the momentum, if you will, for trades it's kind of hot right now, and that doesn't have to matter in a vacuum with this pick, but teams seem willing to do stuff. We know that firsthand. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. This is WGR. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, welcome back. Fun weekend ahead. NHL draft coverage on WGR tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, and then all day Saturday in Buffalo. Carlo is next. Hello.
Hey, guys. Question that I'm sure is unrealistic, and I'm sure you've been asked a million times. But if you had to create a package for McDavid, what would that look like?
It's funny. I just jokingly mentioned like them calling.
I know.
it the
I
last
heard.
name.
That's why I kind of felt relevant asking. But
okay,
for fun, you know?
4, 20, Helenius, Osland, Mertka, and then the rest of your number one picks for infinity, I think is the trade package.
I would throw. I wouldn't just add to all of that, but Thompson would be in my offer. He would. No, he would be in my offer. If I'm going to get the best player in the world, I'm going to give you my number one center because now I have another number one center who's better by miles.
Yeah.
And, maybe most of what you said, too. So, I don't know. That's one where you wonder if you even make the call. If I have McDavid and you call me, hey, man, I better know you pretty well. You just want to know if it's doable. You better start talking. Like, even if I do know you, start talking because I'm not really, I didn't call you here.
Right.
I'm not shopping this player.
Right.
But if you want to occupy my time on Connor McDavid, let's hear it. I mean, don't come strong. Right now, tell me what you have in mind. And then maybe I take it upstairs. But it would have to blow me away. I don't think I would even want to make the call. I'd shy away from it because I wouldn't want this guy to be offended.
Yeah.
Whoever, Stan Bowman, I guess. I wouldn't want to offend Stan Bowman.
I think I would want Thompson to be my number one winger with Connor McDavid, by the way. So, I mean, that's that is – I don't know. We might be a year away from experiencing that. I mean, if this thing with Babcock does not go well, which has to be certainly a possibility, more than just a random chance that it goes poorly with him in Edmonton. I mean, the whole thing already just feels like I don't know. I'm bracing to feel like I'm watching hostage videos every time anybody there talks this year. So going in, I'm already predisposed to expecting it to explode, but it really, really could. And he's only on a 2-year deal, which you got 2 more years to figure this out. And their move this offseason, their move in season was to trade for Tristan Jarry and then hire Mike Babcock. I mean, I don't know. McDavid could be at a cottage somewhere just going, someday, soon, I'm going to be picking a new spot to go play hockey.
Well, it's fun to think about.
Yeah.
Also fun to think about the Bisons. The Bisons are in Iowa again tonight. Sean Keyes is a name to know on the Bisons. Slugger.
Okay.
Recently called up from New Hampshire. That's the AA Blue Jays team, the Fisher Cats, I believe. And he's pounding the ball for the Bisons. And the Blue Jays, the Blue Jays scene seems pretty restless right now. They just kind of blew 2 games to Houston at home and are now a couple games under 500. Season's half over. They're just really not anywhere. So maybe an injection of youthful power is what they need. It's a fast rise for this player if he were to get to the show.
Well, I'm glad for the Bisons and for their fans and folks who will get to go see this guy play, but I'm a little sad for I have friends who go to Fisher Cats games that live in New Hampshire, so I'm sad that they lost a star.
You do?
Yeah. The guy that was the best man in my wedding and his wife live in New Hampshire.
And they go to games?
Yeah, they go to games.
Where in New Hampshire is this team? Do you know? Where do they live? I had to ask you. I'm sorry. New Hampshire is where they live.
Yeah, right. New Hampshire. Yes. Yeah, it's green and pretty. There's mountains.
Live free or die.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Live free or die.
Yeah. This is the guy.
How about it? Great slogan.
The picture that I have that I've tweeted many, many times of the very first opening day at Pilot Field, that's my friend David in the picture. That's him.
And he goes to Fisher Cats games.
Yes, they do. Yep.
Somebody does. I mean, I'm not saying that nobody goes. I don't know. 803-0550. Back to hockey after this on WGR.
More trades in the NHL ahead of tomorrow night's draft here in Buffalo. The latest one has been the Blue Jackets acquiring forward Valeri Nichushkin from Colorado for a 2026 second-round pick, a 27 third, and a 28 fifth-rounder. We've also got the Flyers getting a 5th and 26th and a 4th and 27 to send Florida Garnet Hathaway and a 6th and 26. And then the Penguins, they go and get forward Hendrix Lapierre, sending Washington a 3rd and 27 and a 5th in 28. And as previously stated, tomorrow is the first round of the NHL draft. It is right here in Buffalo, and coverage of the draft on WGR is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Figo Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and by Dash's Market, serving Western New York for over 100 years. Shop the family of finer foods. To the World Cup. 2 of the games that were being played today are done. Ecuador takes down Germany 2-1, meaning Ecuador does advance to the knockout round. Germany, though, does win the group, and Ivory Coast comes in second. Coming up next at 7, we're going to have Japan versus Sweden, and the Netherlands taking on Tunisia. And then at 10, we're going to have the United States finishing out their group stage play. They are going to take on Turkey, though for the United States, for all intents and purposes, this game is meaningless. They have already won the group, and they, for the most part, do know who they're going to face, though it's not official, but all signs are pointing to Bosnia and Herzegovina being the U.S.'s opponent for the round of 32. And then also going on at that time at 10 o'clock, it is Australia and Paraguay. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp.
We were having a very serious conversation about mayonnaise here.
And the Bulldog.
And don't even talk to me about weed.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. There was not enough time there for me to politely respond, or respond really at all in any sort of meaningful way to the question I was just asked before the break. Use your imagination.
Could have been
Try to
anything.
think.
Could have been anything.
Could have been anything, really.
It wasn't fantasy football related, I'll tell you that. I'll divulge that much.
Sadly. It was soccer related. Soccer is up there on the list of sports that obsesses about momentum. They're up there, man.
They have a momentum chart.
They have a momentum chart.
During the matches, lower left-hand corner, they will have a momentum chart.
Which mostly is just, my problem is just the usage of the word. Or the implication that it tells you something about what's going to happen. If one team is dominant, if it's Brazil against the Bahamas, say, they're going to have momentum probably because they have goals. I don't want to get tied up on that chart. Back and forth game, Morocco and Haiti yesterday. Every time it was momentum. In fact, the announcer for this game, the color commentator for this game, her name is Jackie something. I can get that. Morocco scored late to salt it away. They were already winning.
Mm-hmm.
And she said how this goal, completely meaningless, like their position was already secured. They'd already, final minutes of the game, they're already winning, gave them momentum for the next round. Oh, yeah, sure, that's right. That's going to be brought up in the huddle going into the knockout stage, is that meaningless goal against Haiti that did nothing to their standing. Golf is really bad. Golf might be the number one offender. Those guys always with momentum. And never, ever is there like a bogey after a birdie where somebody brings up, hey, what about, I thought they were feeling good. All right, you're looking at me. You still want to know the answer to the question that I didn't answer?
No, I don't really care about that.
Or this.
This is my least favorite thing of yours that is a regular, recurring, because I don't know. I also don't want to belabor it. If you want to move on, we can move on. I don't need to.
Well, then I have to think of what to move on to.
Oh well,
because all I had left for today is this.
Well, we don't. I don't really know how. We were talking about the standings and who's going to be seated where and who's playing whom in the 32 and all that. And all I said to you as we were about to come back on is you said something about goal differential, and like I will tell you, like I'm watching this. I have never one time looked at the standings. I don't look. I mean, I see the standings when they put them on the screen, right? So I have some sense of who's doing well and who's not, but I'm not really getting into who's just tell me who's going through. Like I'm, like I'll that's all. I'm not hung up. I'll ask you. Like even we're watching this incredible moment for Ecuador where they scored fairly late to go up 2-1 on Germany. Like what does this mean? Because I don't even know. Like well, Ecuador was going home and now they're going through. They're staying. Like wow, that's awesome. And Germany was all set. Like that's my point of entry on how the whole thing, like the machine works and all that. But you said something about goal differential, and I said to you, well, they have downgraded goal differential, its importance, and prioritized head-to-head. And maybe what you were going to say back to me was like, well, you haven't played head-to-head.
Well, that's right.
And that's where you get to goal differential, I would imagine.
Yes. We're now talking about outside of the groups.
Right.
So how do they slot what will be 8 third-place teams into their slots? How is it 99% likely that the USA will play Bosnia-Herzegovina in the next round when there's so much left to be determined about who's going to finish third? Ecuador just beat Germany and passed Bosnia tied in points and passed them in goal differential. So they would be above Bosnia. But there's a lot more. It's very complicated. Like world rankings can be a tiebreaker. Fair play, how many cards?
Okay.
We had that before. That was a weird one. That can be a tiebreaker. And then you have, look it up. I'm not even going to bother to read it. I just want to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to play teams from other groups or other maybe like you're saying continents sometimes, or so some third place teams have no chance to play against a certain first place team.
Okay.
Because of that
something. Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So this Ecuador result that puts them above Bosnia on a list of they're clinched. You get 4 points, you're clinched. There aren't going to be 9 third place teams that get to 4 points. But that doesn't seem to change the likelihood that the states will play Bosnia.
That's right. Well, I'm wondering that. I mean, we just had that result within the last 5 minutes. It went final, right? And Ecuador beating Germany is a pretty sizable upset. No.
Yes.
Right.
Plus 330.
So was that part of the 99% that you're playing by? Like, has it changed now?
No.
Okay. No. You know that. Okay. I didn't know if
that's
it
the
all
point.
just happened too fast that they I didn't know if they were still that much of a favorite to play Bosnia.
No, that's the point.
Okay, gotcha.
It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change Germany either because they were alone in first. They were safe.
All right. Well, good talk. I feel like we didn't really figure anything out.
No, I do and I don't want to know this one. By Saturday night, it'll all be settled. And what I'm trying.
That's when I'll look and see who's playing who. That's all
Yeah.
I'm gonna worry about it.
Why I'm more into this than I would otherwise be is I'm in these 2 survivor pools. They're really cool. You picked 4 teams at the beginning of the tournament, and to qualify for the next phase of the pool, all 4 of them have to make it to this next round.
Mm-hmm.
I had Turkey on one, and that bombed, so that team is eliminated. But I've got 2 or 3 good ones. And I tried when I could have done more, I guess, but when I picked the teams I picked, I tried to do it with the big bracket in mind that wouldn't put I didn't want to be all close together because you're going to have to pick somebody like every day starting on Sunday. And it has to, you've been in these with college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We did this one with Joe Ostrowski and Sal was in it. You have to, if you run into a situation where you have used both teams and that's the only game, then you're done. You have no way of winning. So I tried to space them out to avoid that. And that's kind of why I want to know, especially who's playing whom of the third place team so I can start to plan.
Gotcha.
Did that make sense?
Start to plan what exactly?
Picks.
Oh,
because I'm going to have any chance of winning, assuming I didn't stymie myself already.
Survivor. Yeah, It's not all set. Okay, I understand.
I'm going to have to reverse engineer the rest of the bracket.
Yeah, I got you.
To have any chance of winning.
Yeah.
It's a big pool of players.
Yeah.
And most are going to get the 4 teams right. Turkey is like the biggest upset so far for a team not to qualify. 0-2. They're only 0-2 when they're already cooked because Australia won against them. Australia beat them, and then Paraguay beat them. Paraguay beat them 1-0, a man down, because the Paraguay player covered his mouth. So they had to play the entire second half man down, and they still shut him out. I saw a shots on goal tweet where Turkey, through 2 games, have like 20-some more shots than the second highest, and they haven't scored. I would bet Turkey tonight. I would say that.
Sure, yeah.
Because they're good, and U.S., listen to me, Mr. Soccer, they're good, and U.S. will probably sit. They'll definitely sit the yellow card guys, right?
Right.
There are 3 or 4 of those.
Right.
So that they don't risk, if one of those players picks up another card, they're banned from the next game. They won't want to risk that. One of them is the goal scorer guy, Balogun. So they're not going to play him.
They might want to get Pulisic a little bit of time because he hasn't played since the opener.
Yep, there's some speculation about that.
Yep.
Joe was funny talking about the yellow card guys. He's like, don't even put them on the bench because you could get a card from the bench.
Yeah, right.
You know, you're mouthing off or somebody comes over there and starts something and you're just in it. You don't want to risk that. If you know you're not going to play them, give them a press pass. Well, anyway, that's 10 o'clock tonight for the Team USA game, and also at the same time as Australia and Paraguay, I believe it would be.
I have 3 points in the thing that we have here.
How is that possible?
I got a DR, and one of them came from DR Congo. That's where I'm at.
You have 4 teams. You don't have a single win.
No, I know. I mean, I picked 11th. I didn't expect to do well.
It's fair.
Anyway, I know make walls with the excuses. But so I'm cooked there. I didn't even get Panama. Still is another game, even though they're not right. Did they play 3 already? No, they played 2. They played 2. They haven't scored. I've been watching Panama's games just so I can tweet the David Lee Roth gift from the Panama music video, the Van Halen music video, and they won't even score a goal. So I'm still waiting on that. I mean, I don't know. I got a busy weekend with the ride coming up, the ride for Roswell. So I may miss it if they even score.
I think they play England.
Oh, great. So, maybe England won't have to try, right? Or will they? Wait, did they just...
No, they would want the game.
Yeah.
First place.
Right, yeah. So I'm in tough there. I mean, forget it. And Korea, I have Korea and Bosnia
out
in the thing that I have at the bar. And so if Bosnia plays the U.S., I got to root for Bosnia to beat the U.S. I don't want to do that.
I don't think Korea is officially out.
No, they need help, I think, is where they're
a 3-point team.
They lost to South Africa last night, 1-0.
They did.
So yeah, and they were the best team coming into the thing that I had in my. I would say they would have outranked Belgium
in your entire portfolio.
Right, the 4 teams I have in our thing, and these other 2, like South Korea was my only hope, and they lost 1-0 last night to South Africa.
Yep, and you watched it.
I did.
You're watching their games, and you're watching the Panamanian games.
Yes. Not really getting anything out of it. No.
Literally not.
No, it's been bad.
Well, if anybody wants, this Survivor thing runs through a site called Splash Sports, the one I'm in, or the 2 that I'm in. Joe Ostrowski does his things on that site, so Bulldog would have an account there at Splash. And Kelly in Vegas is the personality. She sort of sets most of these up. And I saw that she said today there is a new one, $25, a new one for the knockout stage alone. So you could start one.
Yep.
I guess Sunday afternoon is the beginning of the next phase of the tournament. So you can find that if you want.
I don't think I will. I'm taking enough of a beating. I've lit enough money on fire on this thing. So yeah, I think I'm cooked.
There have been 7 before today, although I don't think I've seen one today. There have been 7 penalty kicks in the tournament.
That seems low.
Maybe that's low.
There's like 4 games a day.
Right. And only 1 has been missed.
Messi.
That's the only unsuccessful penalty kick before today anyway in the World Cup.
Would have had a hat trick in the first game if he'd scored the penalty and then scored the other 2 goals he ended up scoring. So I think the penalty came before he scored.
Yep.
And then did he not have a hat trick then?
No, he had 2.
He had 2 more in the second game. Okay, right.
Right.
He hasn't had a hat trick yet.
He has 5. Everybody is scoring. And it's fun because here's Messi, who broke the famed record for most goals in World Cup. Then Mbappe is like right behind him, and he's way younger.
Yeah.
So he's probably the favorite to have that record someday.
I would think,
And then other guys like, oh, that's 10 World Cup goals for this guy. Like, they're all sort of racing right now.
Yep.
It's good. It's good. Holland. Also from before today, best I can do. I haven't added in today's results. I don't even know what the lines were. But over-unders in World Cup so far. So every total is going to have a fraction, right? Over-under 3.5 goals.
Okay.
So no pushes on over-unders. I think. 25 and 25 for the tournament.
On over-unders?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. All right.
There's no one way that's going.
Right.
What do we have here? 2-0 and 2-1?
Good job. Yeah. Right. Ivory Coast, I think 1-2-0, and Ecuador 1-2-1. That's good job by the odds makers, then, isn't it?
Yes,
if it's
they're nailing it
right down the middle. Then that's what they're going for.
One account I read, and this makes sense, is so like Sam will talk. I'll have Sam tomorrow. Bulldog won't be here. Sam will often talk about Panayotovich, what the books need. How much money has come in on either team. It's not always down the middle. So what the sports books need to have happen. And as you might expect, everybody, like bettors, have poured money in on Team USA. Like that's just been one of these ones where you bet the Bills to win the Super Bowl every year because they're your favorite team. So I think there's some, risk. They're not going to shut down, but some risk on the sports book side of things if USA keeps winning.
Right, sure. Yeah, that tracks.
But I would not bet them tonight.
No, I wouldn't either. I would think you go. I mean, I don't know. Is there some chance that the backups all just play out of their heads? Maybe. I suppose.
Inspired,
right? But I you'd think Turkey would be trying to at least come home with something, because they were not supposed to be a team that would just get run over in this thing. So I would expect you get a strong effort from them.
I wonder if they're known for it. Are they known to be a team that lays down in this situation or rises up? That I can't tell you. We're presuming the latter. Both of us.
Yes, some pride on the line.
Uruguay could blow it. They have to play Spain in their last game, and they have 2 ties only so far. And Cabo Verde, by having tied Spain, is in a position where they could top Uruguay in their group. They also have 2 ties. Both of those teams have 2 ties.
Yeah.
And they tied each other.
Right. Well, I'm here for that. I mean, nothing against Uruguay.
No.
But, two World Cup championships, two World Cups, 1930 and 1950.
Okay, they hosted one of them.
That's a
maybe
long time ago. But
it's not a big country.
No.
They do pretty well for their
I think
weight class.
I think even in 1930 and 1950 to have won the World Cup from a country that size, I think there's a lot to be proud of there.
Is there, do you think, any video evidence of that? Do you think I could go to YouTube and watch the 1930 World Cup final?
I'm going to guess no, but
100 years ago?
1950, maybe you got to look at.
Yeah, I would think.
But 1930, boy, that'd be tough.
In the 80s, the VCR days, it might have been like Saturday, the semifinals or something, if they were on the same day. I think the tournament was in Mexico in 86. And I recorded the World Cup on CBC, which maybe was the only place to get it. I don't know if that's true. But I remember I can see it on a stack of VHS tapes with sports on it. It was like West Germany, maybe versus Mexico, just like a Maradona World Cup. I wanted to watch everything. I was into everything. So, yes, World Cup, let's go. I don't know anybody out there. We had the Stallions, though. We might have had some ties, right? I don't know, but 1986 you can find. 1930.
Yeah, no.
Probably tougher.
Might be tough. Yeah, I'm not going to look right now.
Round 1 of the NHL draft in Buffalo tomorrow night. Steven Ellis of Daily Faceoff is in town to cover it. No, the teams aren't here, but the players are, and thus much of the media. So we had the chance to talk to Steven today about what might happen at the top of the draft. We'll have that for you next. This is WGR.